The life force of your bond. A power like life itself. Unseen for generations. A dyad in the force.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Dyad in the Force, episode 186. I realized that last week I said episode 186, but numbers are just numbers, and you're going to have to just deal with it.
No.
Choco, what's going on, Choco?
Yeah, long week at work. Oh my God. So it was like 104 degrees down here the other day, and they don't build places where I live with AC in mind. I do have a small room unit, but I swear to God, like my wife and I are both here trying to sleep behind my desk. Because the entire house was a sauna. It was crazy. But anyways, we're cool. We're cool now. We're cool.
Shout out to everybody on the red play button side: Taters, Master James Kenobi, VGC, Obi Sean Kenobi, and on the TikTok side, which I like to call the psychedelic logo side. We have an initial question, but first I'm going to introduce our guest this week. Our guest is the Everything GM, MJ. How's it going, dude?
Hey, it's doing well. I am also hot as hell right now. I live in Korea, and right now it's 9 a.m. and wait, how do I convert Celsius to Fahrenheit? In Celsius, it's 30 degrees. It's just straight up 30 degrees, which is, I'll do a quick conversion.
70 or 80?
86.
Okay.
Yeah. So, 9 a.m., balmy 86, and then we also deal with things like when my weather app says 77% humidity is that's a good day, which is
that's rough.
It's been a not fun summer, I'll say that. I've not really enjoyed it.
If you're at 86 and it's still the morning,
yeah.
Rip.
It does that 24 hours a day. It's pretty crazy, actually.
I have to ask, what are you
do
doing in
have
Korea?
Oh my God, dog tax has been paid. Excellent.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one other thing I've been doing is protecting my dog, because apparently they're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats.
Jeez.
You gotta
not
keep
to
it
get
safe, man.
not to get political, right?
I'm sorry.
I'm not afraid of it. Let's do it. Let's dive right in. Why not? As long as we keep it to global politics as well, that's great.
VGC says, I cannot deal with it. Numbers matter. Listen, they don't matter over here, right? This is like whose line is it anyway? The points don't matter. The episode number doesn't matter either. Okay, so
to answer your question, by the way,
sure.
I'm a teacher here. Well, I'm not a teacher now. I'm between jobs now, but I've been here for about 3 years, and teacher by profession. And it's been English teaching, but a lot of the English teaching here in Korea is child rearing and daycare as well. So I've been doing that for about 3 years now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you teach Yongolo?
Do I teach what?
English.
Oh, do I teach Yongolo? Yeah, I do. Yeah. Sorry, you caught me completely off guard. Yeah, I can speak Korean as well, but yeah,
Choco.
I teach. Shall we turn this into a Korean stream? Why not?
No, Choco. Not enough.
But
Choco.
If you're interested in K-dramas or anything like that, there is an amazing channel called Watching Sundays that you should check out.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
Just to say the nuanced part out loud. That's my other channel with my brother, where we react to K-pop and stuff.
Shameless plug.
That's essentially where I get a lot of the Korean or Hangul. That
okay,
I
cool.
know.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of it from my wife.
Oh my God! Wait, is your wife Korean?
No, my wife is a Korean dude.
I was thinking I have a kindred spirit. My girlfriend is Korean as well. So I was like, okay.
I was gonna ask 한국어를 할 줄 아시나요? But you already said you did.
조금만요.
No, this isn't turning into a Korean podcast. If that were the case, I would have to start playing some K-pop, but then we would be also shut down by copyright.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Also, the music that's currently going is just so good as well. So,
Absolutely, we have this this thrilling, mysterious, whatever the hell it is.
it sounds like there's a lot of KOTOR 1 and 2 in there, and there's some Star Wars Old Republic as well. It looks like an Old Republic,
Yes.
it sounds like an Old Republic playlist.
It is. Why are we speaking Elvish? I go Vandan. I can speak Elvish too, a little bit.
Oh no, you'll lose me there. I have no grasp of Sindarin.
Korean Star Wars dub when? Oh my gosh, really?
They do exist on Disney Plus since being here and being with Charisny Plus, which I'm now going to call it from now on. Yeah. I've been used to having Korean subtitles on, which does help with the learning, by the way. But also, especially as a Star Wars fan, you get to hear a lot of the terminology in Korean that you didn't like. It's really cool. Like you get to hear "May the Force be with you" in Korean, which is super interesting. And
what is it?
yeah, it's really.
Can we hear it?
포스를 함께하길. That's
함께하길.
"May the Force be with you" in Korean. Yeah.
All right, linguistic lesson, guys. We have "May the Force be with you" in English,
Yeah, we contain
And then-
multitudes here, clearly.
and then the Korean was 함께하게.
포스를
포스를
함께하기를.
함께?
함께, like
함께.
together.
함께.
So, yeah. So 포스를 may the force, and then
포스를
함께 together.
함께
하기 is
하기. Okay.
like to do, like so basically may you like act within the force, and then like the marker that makes it like may it be with you, as in like the demand to may the force be with you. Yeah.
Nice. And in
Very cool.
Japanese, force.
Oh, go on.
Force to tomo ni aran koto o.
Yes, the first time I heard that was in Visions for the season 1 trailer.
Yeah, that's where
it
we
got
got
me
it
out
too.
of my seat. I was pumping the air. I was so excited. It was so cool. Oh.
Thank you to Eric Schnelger for subscribing. I appreciate it. And thank you to Obi-Wan Kenobi for the dolphin. We haven't. So there's a question from Craig on the TikTok side.
Yeah.
Initially, do you think Choco will be role playing as Vader to honor James Earl Jones?
Always.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by nothing but fear and dead men. Yeah,
How-
I can't do the
Cold.
voice, but
Cold.
How amazing is it that Choco's dog has Mace Windu saber ears? How do I not
And
see
tail.
that?
Wait.
Oh,
Okay,
you're
that's
talking about the color.
no, that's
Yeah.
based. That's cool. Wait, what did you think they were talking about?
I literally thought it looked like his lightsaber.
that would be
hilt?
terrifying.
That is a truly elegant dog.
Although I'm trying to figure out like what type of dog could you like make its tail a lightsaber? like
Couldn't be any small dog. Couldn't be any small dog.
You
They'd
can
wag too
certainly
much.
you can certainly do the light whip.
Yeah. No, that would work. I had a friend many years ago who had Great Danes at home, and though they are apartment dogs mostly, when they have energy, they will like bruise you with their tails because they wag them with such ferocity. If there's gonna be a dog that does not need a lightsaber for a tail, it's a Great Dane.
yeah,
They hurt.
Friend of mine had two of them, and it's just like you said. Yes, they live in an apartment, but they have to live in a 2-bedroom apartment, so the dogs can have their own room.
No, absolutely. Even if all they do there is just laze around, because that's obviously that's often what
Yeah.
they do. But yeah.
Their knees are garbage.
It's okay,
Remind
it's not
me,
their
did-
fault. It's our fault.
Did you ever introduce yourself and tell the audience what you do and where they can find you?
No, I didn't. I can if you want me to.
Nah, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. We can move on.
No,
It's fine. We
no.
don't need it. Is that how it's gonna be for the rest of the podcast?
We just do that. We just do
met.
that anyway.
I my community is so vindicated right now, wherever they are.
Well,
God damn it.
I have to say my proclivity or my penchant for doing that comes from
The Force Awakens.
Well, it can't,
Wait, when in The Force Awakens does that happen?
When
does he say no in The Force Awakens?
when Rey is trying to fix the Falcon and she's asking Finn for the part, and he keeps grabbing the wrong thing, and she's like, no.
I don't.
I'm never gonna hear that scene the same again. That's so cool.
You might insert that there, but she doesn't.
We exaggerate the R, but
British
I never thought
normally
it was
have a UR problem.
Yeah,
in the same
yeah.
way that like Australia, New Zealand, and South African does. But recently, I've just gotten it from New Jeans because all of the memes around them is just centered around their Australian members, and it's just
Oh wow.
every time
That's
they're
hilarious.
speaking is someone subtitles it nar. So
People are mean.
go ahead, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, my name is MJ. I don't often refer to myself as the Everything GM, but I suppose as like a community like title, then that's I suppose what I would be. I've been streaming on YouTube for about 2 years now. I am a teacher by profession, but I've also studied law in university as well, and I have the piece of paper to prove it. And I've been a fan of Star Wars since I was about 10 years old. And though my community does do a wide variety of stuff, and I basically facilitate education through interests and hobbies of all kinds. So we have like music analysis and like tabletop breakdowns. I really try to focus on tabletop RPGs as well. It's another like big passion of mine because I love storytelling and media literacy and stuff like that. So we do media analysis. And right now the focus has been on Star Wars Outlaws because I've been chewing up that game for everything it will give me. So we're on like episode 14 straight in a row of Outlaws with nothing in variation at all. But yeah, my main goal online at all, but also like just with the community that I've managed to cultivate is nothing business related or brand related. It's just education through hobbies and interests. I believe that mutual education as well, like not just flowing one way, but like people educate me, I educate people, and we just kind of have a good time. I try to teach basic empathy, communication, positivity, healthy idealism, optimism. I also try to like take away the fear that people have around the word politics and the context attached with that. That's like global as well. So I talk a lot of political stuff too. Just on the within the main theme of mutual education and just learning how to be better people in your communities. That's the vibe.
That's fantastic.
Also,
I know
shout out to Taters in the chat.
Yeah. I'm surprised that they haven't like advertised my Discord in your chat already, because that's usually that's that's something I get every couple of messages, because they're one of my moderators. And when I stream on because I stream on YouTube, because Twitch Korea was gutted, like, was it this year? Yeah, it was this year. Like literally just almost entirely removed. Like I can watch Twitch creators when they're live, but I can't see their VODs. And if I were to stream, I could only stream at like max 720, I think now, or maybe it's not even streaming at all. And I can't create VODs or clips or anything like that either. Yeah, long story, but
that's crazy.
But
we also have Alferg's Herald.
Oh yeah,
well.
Alferg is here as well. Yeah, loyal, very cool. Hello, friends.
I know you can't see it with what I'm sharing with you on the call. That's just the OBS side, but as you were introducing yourself and talking about yourself, Eric on the psychedelic logo side sent a hat and mustache, and that's what you were wearing.
Thank you. Oh wait, oh my god, I've always wanted to see what that looked like. I'll have to go back and watch it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I always see people usually those gifts happen when people are having very serious conversations, in my experience. I see someone talking about something very horrible that's happened to them, and then there's like a rose that appears in front of them, and like a mustache and googly eyes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I'm actually wondering what TikTok is going to save as the VOD for this live because I'm currently using their dual mode, which is basically a different scene for a different portrait or landscape.
Yeah.
Either way, it most likely show up on the portrait side. I'm a spooky kitty. I'm new and hoping this doesn't devolve into Chud territory. What's Chud?
Chud, like the Chuds. like Chet.
Explain it for me, ambassador to the Gen Alpha.
No, that's what we would refer to the Chets and the
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Not to be confused with Chads or Cheds or Chudes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But you can confuse them with Chodes.
Chodes. That was gonna be my next thing. I set them up and you knocked them down. That's perfect.
You're welcome.
How established is that thing? Because we just like happenstance like a couple months ago started calling a particular person Chet. Thanks to Stygia and Siren for that.
No, Chuds has been around for a while. It hasn't been associated specifically with Chet, but it was associated with the other people named in that communication. Frequently.
Stephen Allard on TikTok said, Chud, cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
Damn. I mean, that's the first time I've heard
Shots
about it.
fired.
I've heard Chud being used for years.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of on the cusp. Like I was born in 96, so I'm 28 now. And I'm on the cusp between millennial and Gen Z. So I've kind of gotten both throughout the course of my life.
It's going to be unrecognizable conversations in the next 5 years.
As it was for us when we were younger. Like it all kind of repeats,
Well, a lot of so there. I recently watched like a linguistic YouTube video on like the different slangs from each generation, and surprisingly enough, us millennials actually created slang based on appropriate and apt root words that meant the same thing, right?
What? Did we not have these words
slay,
that evolve into things that don't
like slay,
don't seem
eat,
to make sense?
drip, digs,
I will say that that meme culture is and the advert of like the amount of like cartoons where it's just random stuff, like the laughs are just generated off of randomness. I feel like that probably does play a role in it. It's
super referential as well. So if you're out of the loop of references, yeah. I will agree with you. I think like I saw a meme so many years ago, but it's really stuck with me. It's like when you show a meme to someone that you find funny, but then you realize that in order for them to find it funny, you're on like a level 8 deep meme and you need to explain like 7 layers in order for you to get them to the right point to find it funny, and by then it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
I'm a spooky kid who said y'all need to stop being so skibbity. Well, listen, that sentence alone grants you what? Aura plus 10?
No, that's negative. That's a negative aura.
Negative
This
aura?
is negative aura. For the
I'm
context in which you're saying it, that's hella negative aura. Yeah.
Nah, spooky kitty. We're definitely not Chud territory, and we just love Star Wars. Every time a new project comes out, we have to contend with a crowd that is focused on all of the critical aspects surrounding that project, while we try to talk about what's happening in the show. Like it's literally like clockwork. Like it was with Acolyte. I was, each episode I was talking about, so this happened and that happened and May went this way and Osha went that way. And like all of the other haters were like, talking about like the pronoun of Basil and the cheek caress from Anastasia to Coral. And I'm like, okay, but what happened in the episode? Like, come on,
Yeah, no, I'm the same.
Yeah. It was hard times. It was hard times.
Thank you for subscribing, Caitlin Crescenti. I can't stand that crowd, so I'm welcome here. I think absolutely you're welcome here.
Yeah, please stay.
I mean,
I think if I am,
if we have MJ here, then anybody's well. I'm just kidding. We like to haze our guests a little bit with some.
Again, we've just met. I know I'm in good company if that's happening, because I do the same.
May went this way, Osha went that way. Are we discussing the Acolyte or Rush Hour? Both.
I went this way, you went that way.
Both. And if you're watching the landscape, you get to see this. Hold on.
Wait, do you have like a button that does special cool
You'll
things?
never understand me.
You right, because I don't even understand what you just said to me right then.
That was so sick. That was so sick. You have that on like speed dial? That's so cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I also have this for like truly inspiring discoveries.
Incredible. Found something you have, I would say. Hmm?
Oh.
Because of Obi-Wan.
Found someone you have, I would say.
Very good. Very good. I need to poach this layout off of you.
Shout out to Obi-Wan Kenobi for being a member for 21 months. Will your Vernestra story explain her hair loss? That never occurred to me, so I guess it will.
It will now.
Listen,
It
I
didn't
think
before.
maybe Vanessa just wanted to do something different, you know? I don't know.
It really didn't occur to me. I was focused on the story between the student and Vernestra and, you know, what happens in that regard, but I'm probably going to have to put in like two or three sentences about her shaving it off and being like, this is me now.
Oh, did she shave it off? It didn't fall off.
I mean, she has hair. There's nothing about
Yeah,
Mary
when-
Ellen's that say anything about losing your hair
Yeah.
when you get older.
I mean, you know, if they're near human, maybe they also have like pattern baldness at some point.
Yeah, maybe she took a lightsaber and it like carved a piece, and she's like, you know what, we're just gonna take it all down. So I
Yeah,
don't have to worry
yeah.
about it, you know?
She mistrimmed the bangs. Like she tried the bangs and she cut it a little bit too short. But when it happened too short, she was like, I'm charging the whole thing. It's gone. It's all going away.
She went to get her hair done, and it was Therm Scissor Punch up there, and she's like, I don't know if he has the grace.
Yeah.
And he did not. That's what happened.
Where else are y'all streaming? Is there a chat somewhere everyone can see or no? There's not a chat everyone can see, but if you're in the chat, you can see it.
There's gonna be a chat on the Red Play app, and also on the T app as well.
Yeah. Basically,
Can't say names anymore, by the way.
We're seeing and we're engaging with both chats. So really, I mean, you could be on either chat. Tanner says everything GM's whole vibe is the opposite of right-wing reactionary BS. So I knew this would be a sick AF podcast. A plus aura.
Damn right. Oh, did I get aura or did they get aura? We both got aura. We all got aura.
Joint auras.
Or
Mutual
Yeah,
auras.
check under your seats. Check under your seats. Let's see. We'll never know who that little green guy at the end of the final episode of Acolyte. That was Grogu.
Genuine
yeah.
disappointment.
I saw. Now, normally Generation Tech is serviceable, but I saw a thumbnail today where they put that scene, and then the title said Star Wars fans are going to be pissed, and the thumbnail said he knew, and I had to stop myself from going in there and watching it because
You can't give it a click. Don't give it a click, man. Just
yeah. It's so, I don't know, like they're usually okay.
If into the recordings you go, only pain will you find.
you know.
You have done that yourself.
I think so. Listen, guys, he didn't know. We don't know if he knows. We don't know what Vernestra told him. She could have been like,
Sadly.
sorry to disturb you, master, but I'm really having a bad stomach. Like,
Yeah,
my
could have
stomach's
been that.
killing me.
We will literally never know, and that's the tragedy of it, really.
But like, what's
Also,
the information she
going
has?
she was going to tell him something. I think it's like you should assume he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, it just kills me because it doesn't seem like she doesn't know.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if I know Yoda, and I love Yoda, recently I came upon, especially after seeing him at the end of the Acolyte, recently I was scrolling social media and I saw a number of people come out and just go, the only thing that's happy about cancellation is that I never have to see Yoda's face again. And I realized there's actually quite a large number of people who don't like him. And I was like, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that so many people like dislike the character. I love him. I mean, I love critiquing him as well. He's like such a cool archetype, but I love Yoda. He's like top 5 for me. And
he's my favorite.
I love him. I think he's so cool. And
there's
I know, even knowing that, I know that at the end of the Acolyte, I know that I have a feeling based on how I know him that she would be like, hey, Master, there's a thing that's happened, and Yoda's going to be like, tell no one, we must, because this is going to like cause some unrest somewhere, and he's going to do another cover up. I feel like that would track for him. I don't know. We'll never know. But in my experience of him, he does like a cover up. It seems like.
I wonder if it would consider it a cover up or a what do we know versus what can we prove versus what happens if we
Choco
do
are
this.
apologists.
No.
It's not even. I don't think it's even apologists. It's like Vernestra, for instance, for a brief second senses her Padawan, who she long thought was dead. Was he actually there? Was he there now, or was he there 10 years ago when she's also sensing stuff from? Like, how does she know? What is his involvement? Can she prove that he has any involvement? No, she can't prove any of this stuff. So, like, what are you going to take back when you have someone like, I need an answer for this investigation, and you literally have in custody the person you've been trying to get the whole time? Literally, the whole show starts trying to get May, and it ends with May in custody, and with all the loose ends tied up, but with something happened. I don't believe what we have is what's actually going on, but I can't prove it. I want to investigate further, but you have to answer to someone. That's how I see it. I don't see it as a cover up. But I was gonna say there's a lot of Yoda hate and Jedi hate now, but I feel like most of it is transposed people rebelling against whatever religious thing they grew up in. And then the Jedi Order just represents that, even though it's not.
It's not quite the same. I mean, they do have the parallels, of course, especially the institutional power that they hold, especially like once they're connected with the Republic. If we're gonna get into this, I have such a back and forth opinion on what the ideal situation for the Jedi would be, because when I think that regulation and holding people accountable and checks and balances are important in a functioning society, especially on a galactic level. So yes, an order of people who can manipulate the laws of physics at will should probably be kept in check by some kind of authority that's not within their organization. Like there should be some kind of external regulation that goes on.
As we say, this is the Sokovia Accords.
Right, but should this be the Republic? Because I don't think it should. If the Republic runs as it does, especially economically, I don't think it should be the one to regulate the Jedi. Maybe we need something else, like an independent body. So
here's the thing.
I agree.
The checks and balances, it's great in concept, but like you said, with the whole cautioning of whether it should be the Republic or not, like we got that whole branch played out, right? It led to the fall of the Republic and the Jedi Order all at the same time.
So we've seen what happens when that happens. Which is why I think that the Republic is not the one to oversee control, because it will just lead to these imbalances.
The issue comes with trying to decide who that is.
Yeah.
And in that
Which we haven't
case,
seen.
that's why I'm Team Captain America.
I mean, I would never be. I would never be like, wait,
because-
I'm sorry, let the US government like decide what superheroes do? Like, are you insane? No.
Yeah,
I'd
but
rather
like,
have it free for all.
so in that regard, it's like the choice between having a similarly corruptible entity oversee the Jedi Order, or letting them, be their own arbiters.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it canonically works. Like for thousands of
you
years.
There is a lot of evidence to show that it worked before they joined the Republic in Legends. Absolutely. I will say I'm very excited for post sequels. Any kind of exploration into what happens post Rise of Skywalker, I am feral for, because I want to know what Rey does to do. I want to know what she does differently from what's been done in the past. Like, we've had originally Jedi was tied to Republic, and that was a problem and definitely caused issues politically. And then the Rebels were like, we need to bring the Republic back. And then they did kind of like a parallel. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was kind of it was kind of not identical, but there were some similarities. And it wasn't like a systemic change so much as it was a regime change. And then and then of course that went away, and then we have the sequel movies, and now post sequel movies, now there's a real blank slate, like a full clean slate that we can work from. And I really, really want to see what Rey does with the Jedi as an institution. I don't think it should be like one big institution that we've seen before. I think she should just like break it into Wayseekers, have temples on various planets, have them be like self-contained and self-governing and things like that. We can see how that works, maybe. But
well, you say it, but that was actually one of my favorite things about the expanded universe. Is early on, Luke has his Jedi school, and after people graduate, it's that they just get to go off and do whatever they wanted to.
Sick.
And then by the time we get into the Yuuzhan Vong books, I hate the Yuuzhan Vong. They're disgusting, and I hate them. Anyways,
there's no middle ground with the Yuuzhan Vong in the fandom.
No,
you either
absolutely.
really like them or you despise them.
They're disgusting. No, but it became hugely problematic, because you'd have these random Jedi who will just like believe in a cause because of personal bias or something like that. And so like now they're like making things happen or supporting things, and it just became really problematic. And so Luke ended up centralizing things again and having a council, because it was better than the anarchy. But no, I what you're describing though is exactly what I want. I want to answer the question, does the galaxy still need Jedi, and what role should that be?
Yeah.
And I want her to have to find that place. I think that after The Last Jedi, gave us the blueprint, right? Luke served as a beacon of light that inspired the entire galaxy to make the right choices and to do the right things, and to galvanize them to stand up and fight. But he himself, it was an act of nonviolence, and he like stood up, made amends, returned to the galaxy, to his family and all that stuff, and sacrificed himself to do it. And like, it's hard to find something more perfect than that, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm a huge Last Jedi fan.
Would a non-Jedi Force user naturally gravitate towards the dark side? Yes. Wait. Oh, I read that as would a Force user, because Force users in particular are susceptible to the Force itself, and the Force makes no distinction. What does make a distinction is your emotions, and I think without proper training, a Force user would naturally gravitate towards their feelings more so than their logic.
To be fair, I don't know if it would be specifically Force training, but more just like therapy. I think a lot of Jedi would probably be a lot better off if they just had real good therapy. Like, not even just talk therapy would be great, but something more specific to each individual Jedi's needs would help solve a lot of problems. I've always said that if I played a tabletop campaign, if I was a player in a Star Wars tabletop campaign, because I'm usually the GM, I would play a Jedi therapist. I would be like someone who goes to like various Jedi enclaves and temples around the galaxy and is like, let's talk about those feelings you have. I feel like we could really fix some systemic issues if we looked into that. I don't think you need like necessarily specialized force training to get rid of those things, because the temptation of the dark side comes from acting on things, not just feeling things is fine. You just can't actively engage in behavior that is fueled by those things, you know?
Well,
I feel like the Jedi that would take a positive approach towards therapy are just not the Jedi we would have to worry about bad stuff. You know what I mean? Like, if you offered Anakin Skywalker therapy, what would he do?
Fair.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I mean, so in that regard, the whole point of training is because as a force sensitive, you are open to the force no matter what.
Yeah.
And you know, no matter, like, given how many midichlorians you have inside you, you are hearing and sensing and feeling the force. Yeah. And that comes with it the dark side, because, you know, like we say, the force doesn't make any distinctions. And
are we saying that, just to clarify, are you saying that there's the way that I conceptualize the force is there is the force, and then dark side users are corruptors of that. So the force itself exists in balance, not because there's a light side and a dark side, but because there's darkness in nature. That is not the same as the dark side. Do you know what I mean? So there's the light, the force is the force. It's just that energy, right? But then the dark side is what happens when corruption happens there, and people like place things on it and then twist it into something that they then recognize as the force, when it actually then turns and corrupts them. The force inherently just has darkness that exists in nature, like death and destruction and chaos and stuff. That all exists perfectly fine in nature, in balance. The dark side itself is like a wholly different beast, right?
Yes. So we're turning this into a quick explainer on the force.
This is no longer an intro. We're done. The introing is finished.
We'll go into lore. So yes, you said it all correctly, and this is something that we often say to people asking about what is balance in the force and how does the force work. The force, as I said, makes no distinction, right? It has its perfect flow between life and death. What matters is, in the context of its usage, this is what George was talking about when he said balance is the light. You can serve the light with no consequence, right? You're just serving life. The imbalance and the perversion of the force comes by trying to control that which cannot be controlled, which is the darkness of the force, the death part.
It goes hand in hand with the Mortis arc, where you have the daughter who is the light working alongside the father. You know, it's not till the end. Yeah. And
so what Choco and I often say to everyone is, and this is canon, because we have Shadows of the Sith with Anakin, we have Secrets of the Sith where they talk about it, specifically picturing a river or a current, and it's flowing. The Jedi use the river to assist their life. It's a water wheel.
Yeah. The
Sith build dams. They change its current, they dam it up, they stop it from flowing, and in as a cost, it feeds off of them because it can no longer flow into the ecosystems downstream that it typically would. And so that leads to the corruption. And so in that regard, when I say the force makes no distinction with force sensitives, you're at the mercy of whatever you encounter. Right. And that's true. Yeah. There's a good quote by Skier in the High Republic where he's telling Vernestra, we choose the light every day. It's not something that you just be like, okay, I'm going to serve the light, and then the rest of your life is peachy.
It's a dedication.
The darkness is always there.
Yeah.
So, Even though that wasn't the question, and I misread the question. The question was,
well, the problem, the problem with, our conversation is that we are looking at it realistically, right? Because people are imperfect and have problems. But in the architecture that George Lucas created, the Jedi do represent the ultimate of good, and the Sith do represent the ultimate for bad.
Yeah.
And he's very clear, like, in our story, they are the most moral good, but they are fallible.
Yeah.
And we're just seeing a lot more of that fallibility in the stories. But like, it's hard because we don't have an organization we can turn to in real life to say this is the good,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because life doesn't work like that. There will never be an organization that is entirely good. It's really just trying to do the best we can,
And that's largely the issue with looking at the Jedi Order as a monolith as well.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because as a monolith, they teach all of the right things. Don't let your emotions control you. Serve life. Help as many people as you can. But on an individual level, you might have people like Pong Krell or Anakin. It's just like, no, my selfish desires is, is more important. And I like to point to, like, just like I said earlier, the thousands of years where it worked, where they went from being the Jedi to splitting off with those that disagreed with their philosophy, becoming Jedi.
Love that story, by the way.
Which is the schism, but that's Legends. So
I know, but I still love it.
Super excited for Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi.
I need it.
But in that regard, those thousands of years of peace was largely like them as an order. They're a separate order, and then the Sith brought their empire to bear on the Republic, and the Republic's like, we need your help. That's when the Jedi and Sith Wars happened, the 100-Year Darkness, and that's when the Jedi integrated. Not fully in control, but they integrated on Coruscant. They started centralizing power.
Yeah.
And that was the turning point.
Was the 100-Year Darkness was caused by another schism within the Order, though, right? It was a group of people decided to turn to the dark side, and then they broke away from the Jedi and became the Sith later. This is still Legends, of course, but then they found Korriban, integrated with the people there, enslaved the purebloods, and then became the first Sith. It still came from the Jedi. Yeah. So I think even over 1,000 years, there is something to be said for the fact that the Jedi have constantly had to deal with schisms. Like, that's kind of, it's definitely a pattern. Like, they build, but then a schism does happen. So you would think that, nothing is perfect, right? So no system is going to work perfectly all the time, and there are always going to be people who like try and instigate things and try and destabilize. But I think we can definitely learn. I would love to explore in a canon aspect more of that era, so we can figure out what happened there, what went wrong, so that then we can decide to find something new in the future as well. Because I think even though it was relatively peace, I'm sure, as you said, rather than treating them like a monolith, I'm sure individually there were a lot of people who were anything but peaceful, I think this ties
that's
into...
one of the reasons why I worry about bringing in the Old Republic into canon, because there's a lot of the Old Republic, Jedi were straight up soldiers and generals and stuff in the war, and some of the same issues that we had, and would make for cool storytelling. But like, that's why I like how the High Republic has kind of. I absolutely love the Old Republic. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't until the High Republic came out that I started thinking about, like, oh yeah, the galaxy, I guess, didn't change very much in like these thousands of years. Just even the same architecture and all this stuff, and it's interesting because we'll have people who will swear, by Anakin, right? The Jedi, the prequels are wrong because they joined the war, and that's why they fell. And then those same people are big Revan fans, and they're like, well, the Jedi of Revan's time failed because they didn't join the war, and that's why Revan had to go do it himself.
Age-old KOTOR argument, man. Yeah. I don't know. Listen, as I played KOTOR when I was a kid, it's very easy to go along with like rah rah Revan, like definitely go fight, and then later on I was like, maybe we should work with known quantities. Maybe the Jedi Council will onto something, and not to be like an enlightened centrist, which I am not by any means, but as I've like where I am now, I think, I think it does lie somewhere in the middle though. Like war is not good, but at the same time, like if you have a problem right now, you kind of, it's okay to think about dealing with it right now. So there is merit to that, but there is also merit to sort of biding your time as well. I think I will say my conclusion is that the Jedi Council are when it comes to wartime are put in pretty horrifically impossible positions pretty regularly, where they have to make horrible choices that sacrifice potentially billions of lives. Like they're working on a scale that we can't fathom when it comes to wartime. And I mean, you know, we're not here discussing Star peacetime, are we? It's really a universe that is plagued by war again and again and again. So, yeah.
It's always someone of the dark side that seeks to undermine the foundation of the order that leads to its upheaval. I mean, like we think about the thousands of years of peace, and then like the years where there was conflict, and then you think about how canonically there's only 20 that they've lost. So
20 what? 20 conflicts?
The lost 20.
Oh, the Jedi. Right,
Yes.
right. Yeah.
And so we have to think about canonically, what does that mean? It means that the Old Republic largely can't stay like 1-to-1 because there's a lot of Jedi that just
in Legends it's like super unsustainable. 100%. I think they would have to do a lot of changes there.
So canonically it means that of the 20 there were those that were, you know, responsible for, you know, proliferating the Sith Order and recruiting more to the cause. But whenever, go ahead.
I will say there was, I can't remember what it was called, but it was around Darth Bane's era. There was a reset for the Jedi as well. It might have been before him as well. There was like that moment where the Jedi practically collapsed. Speaking of the Old Republic, was probably around the time of KOTOR 2 when the Sith purges happened and the Triumvirate kind of did their thing. I think that may have been like a lot of Jedi knowledge was lost completely. So it might have been, if I were writing the Old Republic into canon, I think I would probably lean on that quite a lot and be like, this is basically a reset point where the Jedi knowledge just basically got lost, and then they've been trying to find it ever since, like over those thousands of years.
Are you suggesting like they lean on like the Rusan?
The Rusan Reformation. Yes, that's what it's called. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same thing, but like, because that was more of a galactic thing as well, where they like reset the clocks and like all that stuff. But I think if you don't want to like hamstring yourself into storytelling in the Old Republic with people who've left the Jedi, because there were plenty, and also like stay true to the lost 20 like maxim that they've only been 20 that left the Order, I think make that history, for lack of a better word, a legend, and say that like, yeah, we're going to talk about the Old Republic now, but the current Jedi don't know exactly how that happened because it was thousands of years ago. So they don't, and there was a point in time where the history got completely like reset and destroyed and stuff like that. So I think that would be a pretty safe place to start from.
Plus, we already established that that the Jedi were not centralized. The Coruscant Temple was there, but the Jedi were not centralized there. So you could have bits of information and knowledge on these outskirts and stuff. And you know what happened to those. I'm curious though, given the conversation, have you read The Living Force by John Jackson Miller?
I was about to comment on that really quickly too.
I mean, it sounds like I should, with the way that you guys are like priming me for it.
Oh, you're gonna
love I mean, just in regards to that story, and I'm not gonna spoil anything if you're gonna go ahead and read it, but in regards to that story, it shows how slowly things had begun to centralize, and in a way where they had started to depend on the body politic for funding and stuff, and then they had to like go through red tape and bureaucracy to like close down outposts that weren't really, you know, useful to the government, and basically remove their presence from areas where they would their presence would be a help. They would deter criminal activity. They would, be a beacon of hope for the people in those sectors. And so, like, closing down all of those outposts and starting to move everything towards what the Republic deems as like a useful outpost, then you start to see that, like, this grand plan was just
just an attempt to seize power.
I mean,
to control the institution of the Jedi. You mean
the Sith were.
Ah, right. Yeah.
The Sith were cooking. No, I love it though, because like you said, you have an outpost that's been there for a long time, and is it truly needed? Are you allocating resources out there? You close it down, well then, the big corporation that would have set up shop there is now afraid of the outside influences of gangs and all this stuff, so they move out, and then jobs dry up, and it just like cascades. And this book, it delves into those areas so deeply. You have something early on. It's so early on, it's not really a spoiler, but you have Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan help someone on this like transport ship, and the next question is like, okay, but we're all in this situation. Can you help all of us? How do you decide who gets helped? Those are the impossible choices that the Jedi have to deal with on a regular basis.
I mean, you had me at Qui-Gon, so I'll definitely pick that up. What's it called? The Living Force?
Yes.
The Living Force, yes.
Okay, cool. Do you find a parallel? Oh, I think this might be my context. Recently, I've been rewatching the Marvel Defenders saga and just like getting into that. I'm almost finished with it, actually. Because Echo came out, and I was like, I don't want to watch Echo before I've seen everything else. So now I go back. And going through it has really raised a lot of conversations for me about vigilantism and how ineffective I think it is systemically. And like when it comes to the Living Force and what the book talks about, what you're saying that it talks about, these little decentralized outposts that are not directly tied to the system of law that the Republic has, what would you like? Are there any ties that you can see there with that and like some force-imbued vigilantism that the Jedi are engaged in? Because technically, if they're outside of the law, wouldn't that fit the definition? Like, what would you say is the limit? Do you think if the Jedi enclaves were completely outside of the government, do you think they would be considered vigilantes? What's the what do you think the thought
I mean,
there?
they would be considered vigilantes in the eyes of the government for sure.
Yeah.
But see, this is the thing where like the power wasn't centralized so much, is that every outpost was kind of like autonomous, responsible for their own. And as the Republic started in the High Republic too, which is just more of the cracks that formed. But as the High Republic and then Lina So and all of those movements to expand further, have more systems join the Republic, that meant that their jurisdiction also expanded. Which meant that as soon as like they had an outpost on Banshee, all the way in the Outer Rim. As soon as the Republic expands further out to include Banshee, then they would become vigilantes if they did not adhere to centralized law.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, I hear you.
I'm just hearing Force Batman, and I'm into it. Give me Force Batman.
Oh God.
No, they serve as like the town sheriff, like an old country town where it's like an autonomous place, and the sheriff kind of has free reign to make the choice. And like, if it's a small issues, don't get involved because you might make it worse, and you just have to make those choices. But
acolyte theme.
That's true.
Exactly.
It's like federal and state.
Yeah.
I do want to address this real quickly.
Yeah, go on.
Craig saying all of the political figures of Clone Wars had dark side elements in them. Not the same for Revan's War, but the Mandalorians were being manipulated by the Sith Emperor. It's always the Sith. It's always the Sith.
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, if you go, but look, we were talking about Legends, right? Revan's whole thing, like when he left. This might be spoilers for a couple of sources in the Old Republic, so if you care, but when Revan
It's
left,
been like 30 years.
it's been a while, right? So do we? Yeah. Okay, we can agree. Okay. So
Yeah.
when Revan left, I don't know how I feel about this plotline, to be honest. I don't know if I like it, but when Revan left at the end of the war, he was like, I've just beaten back the Mandalorians. Now I'm gonna go, because he realized he had visions of the Mandalorians being manipulated by another, like some kind of shadowy figure. He went into Sith space and he figured out it's actually the Emperor. There's a hidden Sith Empire, and they've been hiding this whole time. Then, depending on which part of the story you read, because there were conflicting sources, something happens, and then he gets captured by the Emperor and interrogated and like turned to the dark side, and then he
blasted
away from that. So not Palpatine. Who was it? Vitiate. Yeah, Vitiate like Baja blasts him and turns him to the dark side with Malak, and then he breaks out of that, and he escapes and goes to find the Starforge, and then we have the events of KOTOR 1, basically. So after the Mandalorian Wars, he was on the dark side, but he also was trying to take down the Sith Empire. So his whole like misguided thing was, I need an army that's going to take down the hidden Sith, even though the galaxy doesn't know about them yet. And I'm going to make them know about it, even if by force. That was the dark side talking, right? So then when he invaded with KOTOR 1 and caused the Jedi Civil War, then it was for that. That was like his secret plan. He was going to unite the Jedi and unite the Republic, even if by force,
bad plan.
against
it's one of those
shitty plan. Like, it didn't work
I have a
because he's
concept of a
Darkseid
plan.
himself, right?
It's one of those
It's like, listen,
Ozymandias.
I need to get rid of
Yeah,
these.
yeah.
I need to get rid of these Sith. How about we trigger the mass shadow generator?
Yeah. Let's kill
Republic
planets.
space.
This should be fine. It'll work great. Don't worry about it.
And Malik
of
was
course,
like,
It's either
Nah,
that
like-
or tariffs.
Yeah.
hold on. Now I need to
yeah.
know: is Malik JD Vance?
Revan's VP pick for Republic politics? Absolutely.
No,
I mean, to be fair, he's got the same like. Yeah, I think my favorite fact about Malik is that his actual name is Alec, and he was like, I wonder, can I make myself a really cool, funny Darth Sith name? The letter M. Let's put that on my name. It'll be great. No one will know.
I love that you can tell that they were like best friends, because
Yeah,
they're like, okay, Revan, what do you want your name to be? And he's like,
it's gonna be Revan, dude.
Revan.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And Revan has a kid, and the kid's name is Vader, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's just an anagram for Revan. God damn it.
Eric, yeah, Vitiate did break Revan and Malik's mind, or Alec's mind.
Yeah, he did. The fact that they broke away from his influence doesn't mean that it didn't have, like, they didn't cure any of that. They were still screwed at the end of that.
And I
Also,
personally-
he didn't just add an M; he changed the E.
Oh, he changed the E to an A. No, you're right. Sorry, that's way better than what I said. Like, that definitely threw them for a loop.
He was Alec, but he went to Malak.
they were
true.
like,
Yeah.
he's like the same proportions, is it? No, it's way different name, bro. No, but honestly though, I kind of always hated it because it feels like it just removes agency from Revan.
Took agency from the Mandalorians to me. From
Yeah,
not just
from-
Revan, but from the Mandos.
from
I think
everyone.
they deserved their own thing. It doesn't always have to be a shadowy emperor. And I think that might be, sorry, I feel like I'm cutting you off, but I do feel like that is a plot point for so much of Star Wars, that it has the beginnings of like, hey, there's a systemic thing going on. Like, we really get to tackle something that's big and like structural, and you really get to go see the connections. And then it's just a funny little guy at the end, just like controlling all the strings.
I've been saying
I'm like,
this. I've been saying this for the 30 years that we've been reading these things. Karpyshyn, he's a glorified Sith fanboy, and he's not glorified. He's a self-proclaimed. He said that he was a Sith fanboy, and all of his writing shows it. You know, a lot of like his Sith writing is absolutely amazing. His writing on the Jedi is like elementary, and I don't know if it's.
I hit many PRs powerlifting listening to Sith audiobooks.
You want to punch walls, man.
What was the last one?
Sorry, Choco, you were saying earlier?
No, I was I've been listening to like the Bane book, and it's like when he's on the roof in the rain and he challenges what's his name, and you're like, yeah.
What was that PR in?
I don't remember specifically, but probably deadlift.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, Bane sounds like someone who would help you deadlift.
Yeah. I think my max was 485.
Jesus, that's pretty good.
Damn.
Okay, we're still in the lore section, but now we're gonna talk about this week's everything you know about Star Wars is wrong. Choco, you're familiar with what we're gonna talk about it? Oh, we'll be confrontational.
I seen it. I'll remember.
You could just go off of your memory like usual. I mean, I'll prompt it.
No, I got it. Cool.
Wait, do I need to moderate? Are you guys? Is this?
No, we're just gonna.
No, we do this where we can clip parts of it and have them as separate videos that explain things that people often get wrong.
I gotta have my clip face on. Okay.
Yes.
All right, here we go. Everything you know about Star Wars is wrong in this episode. Hyperspace is not sci-fi, and that's okay. Choco, why are we saying hyperspace is not sci-fi?
That's a literal quote from Pablo Hidalgo. Like he said that Star Wars, that hyperspace works at the speed of plot. And when asked about time dilation, he said, "Now you're getting sci-fi into my Star Wars."
Yeah. And the reason we're talking about this is that oftentimes, especially more prevalent during the sequel trilogy, there was a lot of people talking about hyperspace rules. And then when Solo came out, there were even more people talking about hyperspace rules. And there's only ever been one rule of hyperspace. And you need precise calculations. That's it. It was set by Han Solo in A New Hope. Other than that, it's a fantasy thing, you know. The light speed skipping in The Rise of Skywalker, none of them were at locations with a gravitational body. The Typhonic Nebula, the mirror spires of Evexia, the Sinta Glacier.
We started at the Sinta Glacier,
yeah, which is a glacier, an asteroid. Doesn't have a gravitational body. And even if that were the case, where that they did that, if you read the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary, Rose actually made modifications to the Millennium Falcon for it to be able to jump to light speed out of gravitational bodies. So even then, there is an answer. But I think there was an instance in Rebels as well with Hera, right? Jumping to light speed?
Hera jumped into light speed in between two ships. We've seen it happen like before hitting a ship. I mean, there's a lot of things that have played around with the rules of hyperspace. And also, if you play Star Wars Outlaws, it's amazing. You get to jump into a nebula and you get to see what it's like and understand how that wouldn't be breaking any Star Wars rules if you jumped into a nebula and had to immediately dodge stuff in there. Also, I don't know why, but for a lot of people believed that hyperspace skipping was jumping randomly in hyperspace, which is not the case. It's jumping to a series of pre-programmed locations, and I thought that should be obvious because the name of it is meant to conjure your thought of skipping a rock across the pond. You know, that's what light speed skipping is.
I think the confusion comes from the fact that it is randomly through pre-programmed locations, not randomly jumping to random coordinates, right? So all of these paths and navigational computations are already there. It's just like, we'll go here, we'll go there, we'll go there. It's like if you were playing Outlaws, you would just be pressing X, choosing just a random location of a location that exists. So, yeah.
And then that also brings us to the Holdo maneuver, which doesn't break Star Wars canon.
It's one of my favorite
And it was
things in
glorious.
all of Star Wars. Genuinely, I
Yeah.
thought it
It
was
is
one of my
amazing.
favorite moments. It's like top 5 for me. Like when I think of like just spectacle based, it's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a with science being one of the things that I teach, getting I know what Pablo has said about getting sci-fi into your Star Wars, but having said that, you can still do it and be consistent about it if you want to. Like that's actually what's very interesting for me. So I exist in like 2 states when it comes to trying to figure out systems and rules in Star Wars as well. And like I've said, I am a GM for a Star Wars tabletop campaign as well, so I kind of have to do that. But bringing so the 2 states that I exist in regarding any scientific anything regarding Star Wars is it is a space fantasy, but if you are interested and curious enough, you can make it work scientifically as well. And it really just relies on your curiosity, because the writers are not trying to get it scientifically accurate. That's not a goal that they have. They're not trying to keep it scientifically consistent, because like it's one of my favorite videos about a lightsaber. They figured out like if you ignited a lightsaber in real life, it would combust everyone in the room immediately upon ignition.
Oh, yeah.
Because of how much energy it needs to keep there, and it would just be hot all
Bro,
the time.
I lit
like,
thermite and my friend
Yeah,
lost
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
eyebrows. So
Jeez. Okay, listen, we can talk about like your dangerous hobbies maybe a little later, but I think really, did that happen?
But also,
Damn.
like you were saying,
crazy.
to kind of build off of what you were saying with the writers and stuff and fantasy, it's they can quickly change the rules.
Yeah. And it's fine. It's fine to do that.
They changed the
It's totally
rules
cool.
with this entry in the visual dictionary. Rose Tico installed gravimetric compensators that allow the Falcon to more safely execute suborbital hyperspace jumps.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the change. That's the that's the lore entry you need to understand how it works. Lightspeed skipping.
And it's like it's cool if you don't like the change, right? Like that's totally fine. If you want it to work somehow differently, that's great. But you can't really change what it is. If it's there, it's there. And you can't, like, no amount of saying that you don't like it is going to keep it from not being there. You can definitely, like, again, going back to tabletop vibes, if you want to play a tabletop where you don't have that rule in, that's your world. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actual Star Wars, it is there for you. So if someone is curious enough to be like, what is the rule behind this like thing about hyperspace? How does this work? That should really be the question you ask. Instead of immediately seeing something and going, I don't like that.
That doesn't work. You say, how?
You
how
don't
does that
know.
work?
How does it work? Ask questions. Be curious. Be like inquisitive, you know? Isn't that
Now-
like what Star Wars is supposed to be about? It's great.
Now, can I tell you about the thing that really, oh my God, it hurts my brain. Hurts my brain. two things that people have said on a semi-regular basis has to do with the Holdo maneuver. One of them was, well, if this thing worked now, how come that's not the only thing they do in every situation? And you're like, well, first of all, and it hurts my brain because you're like, they don't only do space battles. Like, take the first episode of Rebels. Say they hyperspace jump into a ship. Well, there's no show. They don't recruit Wedge. They don't save these people. Like, first of all, you have a very, very finite amount of resources, for one. Number two, it's hard to pull off. Number three, it's really easy to guard against. And it's a Hail Mary. And the question to me is the equivalent of watching an NBA player, like, at the last second toss up a full court shot and makes it, and then you're like, well, why don't you just do that all the time?
Yeah, the stars align, man. It happens. Yeah.
You can't just what?
Yeah. I think the real thing when people ask those questions like why didn't you do that all the time? At least it's a question, right? They're not dismissing it outright. At least it's like, why don't they do that? It's a pretty accusatory question, but it's a question nonetheless. And then you can engage with it like that. The way that I like
they just
to engage,
commit suicide all the time? Yeah, good idea.
The question that I like to ask when people ask these questions is I say, why do you think? How do you think it works? And just get people to actually engage before. Like, I know we're here talking about lore because we know what's going on, and like we've read the source material, we've seen all the movies, and we know like all the details and things. But for people who don't, I think it's a really productive exercise to get them to engage with themselves first and see if this is a good test to see if someone's really in good faith or not, and if you really want to engage with them further. If you turn the question on them and you go, what do you think? How do you think it works? And then have a discussion. It shouldn't be like, I think, as someone who knows quite a lot about Star Wars, I don't really like talking at people. I like talking to people. So as long as I can first gauge whether someone is in a position to talk about this with me, and then I'll continue. And the way that I do that is by asking them questions that they ask me.
No.
If someone comes to me and is like, how does this work? I say, how do you think it works? And then we talk about it. We can come to those conclusions with a conversation, because that's how narratives work as well.
And that's one of kind of our core tenets is, at least for myself, always engage in good faith at the beginning. Assuming it's in good faith. I'm like, I've seen some stuff, but I'm gonna give you the chance, man.
Benefit of the doubt, man. Benefit of the doubt. It works.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it gives you so much hope for your next interaction as well. It kind of can really it's momentum to drive you forward. The greatest thing you can do when you give people the benefit of the doubt is you give them the grace that I think everyone deserves, because we are not expected to engage perfectly with humans all the time. We don't think social interactions are messy. We live in a pretty curated online world where people can edit things, people can delete tweets and like basically curate their online experience pretty well these days. And that's not how it should work, I think. You have to have ground and like grace to be messy about a thought before it actually takes form in your mind. And that comes with Star Wars questions as well. So if someone is also, bear in mind while giving people the benefit of the doubt that when they're coming to you, if they're coming to you with like maybe confrontation or accusation or aggression or whatever, the root of that interaction might just be from a perfectly reactionary place somewhere else that they don't actually have as an original feeling. They've just kind of borrowed it, which is okay. We borrow from things all the time. It doesn't make anyone better than anyone else. And when they come to you, you've got to have that presence of mind to be like, maybe this is the case where they're trying to engage and they just don't really know how yet because, social interaction is messy. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Engage with them. Yeah. Give them a chance.
And that is another thing that we get often is someone comes in with a conversation they had somewhere else, and you're like, I haven't said any of these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it is this establishing that ground zero. I will say, I've been a little depressed recently because
I know
that tactic ended up very poorly during the acolyte. I just didn't really like the writing. I was like, oh, okay. What was it that you didn't like? I think that women don't get science fiction, and that I was like, oh,
yeah. I don't like gay people, by the way. That's just that's where my good faith arguing is coming from. Yeah, it's
so often that it's because I always hear like, oh no, most of the people aren't. I'm like, usually it's the second question. Like, give him the first question, and it immediately jams down the toilet, and you're like, damn it.
I think for the most part that's how we typically operate. The one thing that I will say in response to that is our grace is a finite resource.
True.
And
we're not expected to be perfect either,
Oh no, for sure. But like, if you've seen all of my videos or just recently seen all my videos, it's I always, whether it's tongue in cheek or genuine, I always offer some grace whenever I'm explaining something. And last week we had a couple people who were trying to rile things up, and we were engaging, but they weren't listening, so therefore we just stopped. So
Yeah, it's totally okay to do that as well. Like, you don't have to. See, this is why I think that different fields of education overlap. So if you want to be a lore master, if you want to be educated on Star Wars lore, you've got to also be at least a little bit educated in how to deal with people as well, because people are your resource. Like, this is what we do, right? And so if you're gonna educate people on a topic, you also need the people skills to engage with people on that topic as well, if you're gonna reach them in that kind of way. If you want to engage in a purely academic sense, then maybe you don't need those skills. But if you're gonna like actively talk to people and figure out what makes them tick and get through bad faith arguments, you need skills to do that, and you need those social and people skills as well. So it's not just the knowledge of Star Wars; it's also the knowledge of human behavior and how people interact with each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I often find that most conflicts arise when both parties are equally ignorant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
And we often say, we've been saying for at least recently, because it is relevant to Terrence Howard, they've been putting forth the Dunning-Kruger effect a lot, which is there's a lot of people who think they know something about Star Wars, and they will make, really, really widespread, like, blanket statements about something.
Yeah.
And Choco and I will be like, that's not true. Like, here's the actual lore behind it, and this is how it makes sense. And then, that's when
there's a strategy for that.
Go ahead.
Go on, finish your point first.
That was my point. It's just like the people who have the confidence to make those statements, who know enough to make those, to have the confidence to make those statements, but don't have enough knowledge to know when they're wrong.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But Kiari Munder's birthday.
You did not.
There's a strategy for that. You push 4 times. If you are engaging with someone, there've been a couple of studies that come out that show that people on any topic, people who are pretty firmly entrenched in a position for whatever reason, if you're trying to get them to not change their mind, because I don't really like that phrase anyway, but like open their perception to something. If you want to introduce something new to them, you try 4 times. You come at it from 4 different angles, and if it doesn't work, the more you try, the more likely that at the end of the interaction, they will be further entrenched in their original position than they were before. So 4 times is like the magic number for interactions where you're trying to like open perceptions and things like that. And then if it's still not over after 4 times, then
that's good to know, because I think I've made like 20 videos about Grey Jedi.
Yeah.
I'll probably leave it at that.
And every time I see it, I'm like, I'm so sad you're back in the trenches.
After this, I'm gonna ask you for some book recommendations, because I've before this, honestly, even now, I think I've probably read more business books than anything else, including Star Wars books. But when I'm down to my business socks, that's how you know it's business time.
A lot of my book recommendations are political theory. If you're down with that, like if you want to educate yourself more on that. But yeah, my Star Wars book knowledge is actually pretty horrifically poor. Like I haven't. There are a lot of books that I have still yet to read. It's a pretty big catalog, to be fair. But I still
growing.
That's true. Yeah, and good, and like good for them. I love just watching more people exercise creativity. But yeah, I definitely I've probably read like 1 or 2 Star Wars books in my time as a fan. I think games, movies, and TV shows are like where I've shone as a fan for sure. Definitely like the visual media. Okay. I love reading though.
Well, I am going to recommend that we turn you on to at least on the audiobook side. You could be grinding something in a game, listening to an audiobook, and just vibing with it.
Yeah.
Plus,
I've done
they
that
do
before.
Sound effects and voices and all that stuff.
Yes, they do this too.
That's the best. Wait, does Kermit do some of those narrations?
That's not Kermit, but I can see why you would think that.
I thought it was Mike Bibber.
I'm a Jedi. But why don't we move on to
the VGC in the chat says, bro, even Lucas mentioned Grey Jedi not being a thing. They won't listen. It's true, but doesn't mean you don't give up the line.
Yeah,
this is the thing.
That side
the line
has
was
their
drawn
own...
here, this far.
try to get
that side
to
has
the
their own George Lucas.
if you're trying to get through to someone, remember that a lot of people have been, much like all of us in many areas of life, a lot of people get duped by things. I myself was insufferable when it came to like when I was a kid. And we're talking about Dunning-Kruger is a great point, because for those of you who don't know, Dunning-Kruger is basically like people who know very little about something, but they've just like dipped their toe into a field. It's very easy to get lost in the source and basically feel like you know everything there is to know about that field after you've just dipped your toe in. Like when I was in university studying law, we used to call it first year law student syndrome, because when you go into law, the first few subjects that you learn about law are like they open your world, and you're like, damn, do I have the keys to the universe? And no, you don't. Like, calm down a little bit, you know? That is Dunning-Kruger. Like, it's in extreme form, it very much is. So, and in Star Wars, there's a lot of that. I think what you have to understand is that a lot of people have been duped by that, and it's not necessarily their fault entirely for that. And I include myself in that as well, because I used to be there as well in Star Wars too. And having understood that, it'll make your interactions a lot easier. If you can just get to the heart of the issue, if you have that patience, you go for it. If you don't, feel free to leave. There's no expectation on you to like, you know, open everyone's perceptions and be like a beacon of lore and light and whatever, unless you choose to be.
That's why I said,
I mean, they're
our
also
grace goes so far.
Yeah.
There's the
There
comment
also
that says,
isn't-
why do you have to defend this so much? I'm like, why do you have to be here? Just go.
And that's the other thing is we do, you know, we put the content out there. You know, we put it because what I find is a lot of people have watched. Like there's a between certain like YouTube content creators, there's like a very steep fall off of when people start actually reading the books themselves.
Yeah.
That they stop watching this person's videos because they get a lot of stuff wrong, you know?
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is also just combating misinformation and showing the sources.
Yeah. Which is, again, not just a Star Wars skill, but an everyday skill, because misinformation is everywhere, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so now we're in our tribute segment where we talk about...
Gonna make me sad.
No. I'll tell you how he lived.
We
It's a
celebrate
good-
the life.
Lovely. Okay.
that's one of my favorite quotes from...
Luminous beings.
Oh, I don't have that one.
I love that,
just-
Steven. Use the source, Luke.
You will know.
Oh, God.
No, my favorite quote from The Last Samurai is like, tell me how he died. And then he says, I'll tell you how he lived.
Amazing.
James Earl Jones, one of the few beacons in life that we had, passed away this week, age of 93, I believe.
Yeah.
What a
age.
champ, though, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good age to
he stuck
reach,
around.
honestly.
I want to go around the table, which is a fairly small table.
Have you guys ever considered having a bigger table? Sorry to derail.
Yeah, but it would cost like $2,000.
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about like the...
I was going to be like, wait, you guys are getting paid?
The Magnus Pro. The Magnus Pro table.
Ah, right. Yeah.
So I used to have a podcast where I always had 4 to 5 people on at a time, and managed it myself. Ran it for years, you know. It's a lot. It's
Yeah, it
tiring.
sounds chaotic. Yeah.
It was for once a week, and without people trapped at home, it's can't work no more.
But we'll go around the table, including the TikTok side. Shout out to Ted Denzel Green and Stephen Callard and Lord Bloodsith. Sorry, on the YouTube side as well. What was your first experience with James Earl Jones? And then what was your most memorable experience?
So for me, it's Empire. I grew up. That was my gateway into Star Wars, was watching Empire Strikes Back over and over again. Even before, I was like trying to figure out, like, was Lion King first? No, I jumped onto this before Lion King was a thing.
Actually, you're right. So when I was thinking about this question, I was thinking about the person, right? And Empire would be my first experience with James Earl Jones in that regard. So I suppose I'll amend my answer to that, but the answer I'll give is the my first experience with James Earl Jones, the actor, and them playing a role in a movie that was them. But go ahead.
Oh, just someone I spoke about, earlier with another friend, was like favorite lines, and I specifically love this line from Empire because he put some stank on it. He put some attitude when he's talking to Lando, and Lando's like, "This was a part of the deal," and he's like, "Perhaps you feel you've been treated unfairly."
Yeah, so
Like,
good. So good.
God damn.
Oh.
No, it's cool. It's cool, man.
No,
Like,
sir.
what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say?
Yeah.
That's the let me speak to the manager. Is like, I am the manager. You're like, oh,
Yeah. This is also off the heels of him choking out like half his fleet admiralty, like because he's on the warpath, and like he's choking everyone on a whim, and now he's like, perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly. Or can we go for another one? Why not?
not only that, but like, apology accepted, Captain Nita. Like, Nita is dead.
So
He
good.
is dead. When he's saying this, you're like, that's the most Anakin thing.
It is
ever.
Anakin.
In defense,
Like, he's just talking smack.
In defense of Vader, though, if you read the comics, he's going through some shit.
Not true.
He's-
Not true. He just figured out his
put
son's
through the
alive.
ringer.
Like, man is spiraling emotionally.
I mean, he was dumped on Mustafar, yet there's a lot of things he's going through.
His wife's hot friend is there, but like,
God.
he's like,
Anyway,
Keira
James Earl
Knightley.
Jones.
Yeah. Go ahead, MJ. Where did you first encounter James Earl Jones?
Oh, initially it was Mufasa. I nearly said Mustafar as well. Thanks, guys. But Mufasa.
Thank you for the whale diving. I didn't know that was a thing on TikTok.
Oh, is that a TikTok gift? Oh, sick. Okay, cool. I locked onto Star Wars when I was about 10, and I watched Lion King when I was much younger than that. So Lion King hit me like a ton of bricks. The scene where the stampede scene is iconic, and even though he doesn't really have, like, after he falls, he doesn't have any lines of dialogue for some reason, but before then, the line deliveries are just phenomenal.
I do that with my cat all the time.
Hanging off the back of the couch like,
Brother, help me!
He really captivated me when I was a kid.
Thank you for all the gifts, Mox.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting glowing jellyfish, watermelons,
sick.
VR
Damn.
goggles.
Hey,
I should come on here more often.
You should.
remember who you are.
Dude, yeah, chills every time. That whole scene also works well with the score too. I think James Earl Jones and it was John Williams who did The Lion King, wasn't it? Was it John Williams or was it Hans Zimmer?
I'm not sure.
Hang on.
I
Lion
don't
King
remember. That's a
score
good question.
composer. Oh, it was Hans Zimmer. Okay, yeah, the great composers, like the great contemporaries, John Williams and Hans Zimmer. Like, I think, like James Earl Jones is a perfect vocal counterpart to great composers because that music really just complements his voice. I think as a voice actor,
it was Hans Williams and John Zimmer.
yes, of course, the greats. How could we forget? just giants of music. Appreciation for his voice acting is I think where the mainstream would know him. But then I saw someone else in YouTube chat talk about his theater work as well, which I think should get a shout out as well, because I don't think that I'm gonna feel like a hipster now. I don't think the mainstream understands this, but I don't think that the mainstream truly understands how much of a legend of theater he was before even touching an animated role or Darth Vader.
That's the only reason he was allowed to.
Yeah.
You know?
He's incredible, and I've seen just from clips of him, his delivery. I think he might be one of the most powerful.
Don't say that,
out
Spooky
there.
Kitty. Don't put that in the world. Don't put that out there.
Wait,
I think you know where you're
why?
going with this because I did see the clip of him doing fences as well. That was powerful.
No, I'm a Spooky Kitty who said Williams is getting up there in age.
No, we don't manifest that kind of shit in here, man. God. No, it's true though. It's true though. I mean, it'll be a sad day. He's not composing anymore, so he is done professionally. But yeah, it's about that time.
But every time he quits, he comes back and he's like,
that's true.
All right, we're gonna do
That's
another
true.
performance. You know what? I never actually made a theme for Han. I'm coming back. You know. Yeah.
No, I think
I don't know why it's taken me this long, but I did not realize you had long hair.
Oh yeah, I mean it's behind me today, but it's pretty long.
It's like it like is half of his profile picture. It's
a bush right now because I came out the shower because it's now morning, but but when it's just when it's settled, it actually looks better. Anyway, yeah, James Earl Jones's theater work is phenomenal, and you should go and watch it if you want to pay tribute to him. Everyone's seen Lion King. Everyone's seen Star Wars. They know who he is. Go look at his theater work. It's phenomenal. He's a legend in theater as well. Yeah.
When I saw the clip of him doing fences, that one scene that everyone knows from, like, you know, Denzel does fences.
Yes. Yeah.
It was so it made me kind of feel FOMO because, like, I can't go back and watch that. You know, like I probably watch it on a YouTube video, but I can't like go watch him perform.
It must have been electric to do that.
Yeah.
To me, I loved that as a performer, as a professional, because I don't really like to talk about the personhood of the actor unless they did something specifically good. Because I mean, I try to keep myself as like parasocially distant as possible. So when I talk about their craft specifically, when he did voice acting, but also theater acting as well, every word was purposefully delivered, and he really took his time with it. A lot of actors will, when they deliver a line, you can see that it kind of, it's a line delivery, and it's cool. Everyone has their own take on it, but his specific delivery is he really considers and weighs every word before he says it, and you can really feel the gravity behind it. And that might just be the gravity of his voice, because his voice is smooth as hell. Like, it's so good. But yeah, he just knows how to use it as well.
That's how you get Fuji.
What do you mean?
If you ever watched the movie Angriest Man in Brooklyn,
no.
Small part, you know. I think Robin Williams is like. I'm not gonna tell you about the whole movie, but Robin Williams is looking for like a camcorder, and James Earl Jones is playing he's the clerk of like a small shop that sells electronics, and he's like,
yeah.
I need a camcorder, anything, right now, and then he has a stutter, and so he's talking about like Samsung. Fujitsu, and then he's like, give me that one, it'll work, and then he's like, oh no, I need to charge this battery, how long is it gonna take? 4 hours. And I'm like, give me something that's ready now. And then like finally Fuji.
God, what a tribute.
Actually, speaking of which, that was something that meant a lot to me growing up as well. I had a speech therapist when I was in elementary school.
Really?
They talked to me about how James Earl Jones had a stutter.
Yeah.
And that he had to overcome. Like,
pretty amazing.
I had a stutter. I couldn't say SHs. I couldn't say Rs. I couldn't say Ls. I had all of the. I didn't use my air properly. I'm still soft spoken to this day because of it.
Yeah.
And that was an inspiration to me with learning how to speak. And then now the largest crowd I've spoken to so far has been 2,500 ish. And so I don't know. It's like it meant a lot. Also, shout out to The Sandlot. That was another one of my favorites growing up as well.
Oh, another movie he was in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the first movie that I actually experienced James Earl Jones as an actor was in this martial arts movie called Best of the Best. That was with Eric Roberts, and he was the coach of Team USA. And if you weren't part of the Olympics or Team USA and he was your coach, you would sit in attention and listen to every goddamn word that came out of his mouth.
I can imagine.
Just look up a clip from this movie. But like he would come in with his very magnanimous like aura and positive aura.
A million aura. Just millions.
A million Riz as well. He comes in and he's like, I don't care about any of you personally. You are part of this team and you will do everything you can to win. And
sick.
I was like, this guy is everything right now.
Yeah. Amazing.
I mean, for a second, I thought you were going to call me part of the Rebel Alliance, and I agreed.
Sorry, we shared a brain cell there. It was like neuron activated.
Rebel Alliance. Yeah.
I was right there with you.
Every time he speaks, no matter what role he's playing, even when he's King Jaffe, you know, in Coming to America, you always listen to him. He always has something to say.
He's worth listening to as an actor, as like a craftsman, 100%. Yeah.
We got some Field of Dreams fans in the chat as well.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, he's been in a lot, you know, a lot more than I've seen, which I feel tremendously, you know, at a loss. That's my loss personally, but I am definitely going to have like a retrospect with James Earl Jones movies because I've only seen just a small portion of what he's been in.
Same. Yeah. I suppose I imagine I was never raised on like the classic movies. I was a musical head. My family was, so I did musicals most of the time. Yeah. So I really have a lot of catching up to do. A lot of my friends are like, wait, you haven't seen any of the Matrix movies? You haven't seen any of the Alien movies? And I'm like, just didn't hit my radar. Yeah. And it's the same with James Earl Jones. I think I should I should probably. I'll add it to the list and then watch it next year, maybe.
Here, actually, I can summon a brief speech from Best of the Best.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
The Force is with you, young Anakin.
Or staff, you're dismissed. Okay. Listen. My
I'm listening.
name is Frank Cuzo. To you, I'm either Coach or Mr. Cuzo. Starting tomorrow, you are mine for the next 3 months.
Yes, I am, sir.
That means no women, no alcohol, no drugs. You will eat, sleep, and shit competition. There are only 2 other rules. Number 1, don't be late. Don't ever be late. It shows disrespect to me, to the sport, and to your teammates. 2, we expect you to function as a team. I'll say this only once. A team is not a team if you don't give a damn about one another.
Wow. Yeah. you mentioning that he had a speech impediment, Choco, is very like when I'm listening for that, when you hear it, not listening for the impediment, but listening for the therapy that he had, you can hear that in his enunciation as well. So now that's part of the reason why so many of the great voice actors that become famous that had speech impediments before, that's why they enunciate so clearly now, because of that therapy. So when they, like Rowan Atkinson is another great example. And you can hear the way they pronounce certain words is so powerful and weighted and gravity because that is that therapy doing its job, you know? And it's it's amazing. That was so cool to listen to.
After my therapy, I also was made fun of for over pronunciation, but I was.
Oh, you'll never win, honestly. This is why you have to be comfortable in your own.
This is why we can't have
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Another role he was in that was truly amazing was Thulsa Doom in Conan the Barbarian. Not a lot of people remember he was in Conan. Not a lot of people remember Conan. I guess I'm just that old. What else was he in that you guys remember him fondly?
Oh, I've exhausted my knowledge of his discography. I'm afraid his filmography.
Which is, I mean, that's what I was saying. Like we know him from such like Lion King. We know him from such iconic roles, but he has such a vast catalog.
It's wide. Othello is a good one.
I need to watch that.
His performance in Othello was really, really good. I did watch that, I will say. That was a long time ago.
Chris Ryan's on the red play button said his hair was luxurious in Conan. I need to see if I can't show this picture to people. But if you haven't seen Conan,
I think I might have seen this on Twitter at some point. Someone says the T-Mobile commercial. Wait, he was in a T-Mobile commercial?
I'm sure he was at one point.
That's great. A lot of the great actors you'll see in commercials as well. That's how they broke into it.
Trying to decide which picture.
Or they will elevate themselves to commercial status instead. So you'll find like Brad Pitt did an espresso commercial. But no, George Clooney, it wasn't Brad Pitt, but he was like already famous by then, obviously.
I mean, Matt Damon told me to buy cryptocurrency.
And you listened, of course. Well, if Matt Damon says it. Oh!
Not that one.
Canon and continuity. Common questions are, how real are these stories? Do they count? Did they really happen?
The folks can't see it, so...
Oh, no!
Oh, they can't see.
I'm reading what's on my screen, that's all. If y'all
I'm preparing it to show.
Oh, okay, awesome. Cool. I gave a teaser then. My apologies.
Well, now you guys can see it because I'm sharing it with you guys.
Oh yeah, no, I can see it. I just didn't want to say anything. I mean, he's doing his best, Lord Farquaad.
But for everyone on the stream, here's the image for everyone on the stream. That's Thulsa Doom in Conan, and he's opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie. So yeah, like
those.
You need to
when
match.
I talked about. Can we if we go full circle to Vernestra Rowe, when I talked about the bangs that were too short that led to her shaving her head, that's what I'm talking about. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, but you had to. If you imagine him playing the villain across Arnold Schwarzenegger as Conan, as this warrior.
Yeah.
He outdid Arnold in terms of looking towering and intimidating. Like, okay, I have another picture to show everyone, which is Thulsa Doom or him, James Earl Jones, in his armor.
Oh, I think I saw this. This is gonna be good.
Vamp while I'm doing this.
Oh, I was just eagerly
Dude, I'm sat. I'm waiting. I'm chat right now. I'm just chat.
No, but I often think about, just the force is strong with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet. And how that's the introduction to my favorite fight in Star Wars.
Oh, the throne room fight. It's iconic, man. It really is. I saw, Taters is talking about the Big Bang Theory as well. He did have a scene as himself there. And as much as
he met Leia. Or Carrie
Yeah.
Fisher.
Oh, and I learned later that was the first time he met Carrie Fisher. Yeah, because he was
That's
always
so
in the
odd,
vocal
right?
booth. Yeah, very weird to think about that. I mean, I think it's odd, and then if you've done voice acting work for a studio, you'll know that it becomes a lot. It's more like understandable because the voice actors are very often the last thing you do. The acting comes first if it's a live action performance, but even if it's like whatever project, voice acting is usually one of the last things that happens, and so it's actually quite likely that the main actors or anyone else on the project will not even know, like they'll not even know the voice actor's face until they're on the title card.
The fact that Aang from Airbender never met anyone, he was just a kid who would come home from school, record voice lines, and then go back to school and never see or hear anything.
Yeah. That's insane. And it's so cool because you think they're in the scene together, right?
Yeah.
And because that's just how great the lines are, like stitched together, and how good the writing is. But yeah, no, they were completely separate. Yeah.
Here's Thulsa Doom in his armor.
Oh. That's lovely.
Or as we like to call him, Mandalore.
Oh, actually so true. That's so valid. Those snakes are flexing hard, by the way.
Right?
So was Thulsa Mandalore before Mandalore existed? When was the first Mandalorian book?
Book, I don't know, but I mean, people were real sick on the Mandalorian lore from the second they saw Boba Fett. And it was only much later that George was like, yeah, he saw Mandalorian.
Because Conan was in the 80s. Conan, this is my favorite podcast you've ever done. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Lord Bloodsith, and I appreciate the fact that you know Conan. Not a lot of people know about the Sumerian, and they need to. But it's okay to forget the Jason
I was more of a
Momoa
Red
version.
Sonja fan.
Hey, that too. Which is odd because he doesn't play Conan in her movie. He plays what's his name? Lord Corduroy.
Lord Corduroy.
It's been a very long time since I've seen it.
Hold on, I need to look it
And
up.
I don't think I was
Definitely
supposed to
doesn't
watch
play
it when I did.
Yeah.
I'm just here learning. I feel like my knowledge is widening as we go.
He played Calidor.
That's what we do.
Calidor.
Hell yeah.
But that was the time, like in the 80s, where like every single swordsman and Viking was Arnold. and then like through sheer just randomness, they found Kevin Sorbo and made him everything else, and like now it's Jason Momoa. So you know,
I just thought it just makes me laugh how between Arnold and like Jean-Claude, they made so many like American like yay America people with these thick accents. You know?
Yeah.
Like,
that's so true, actually. I've wow.
oh yeah,
Sure.
you have to remember Colonel Guile from Belgium.
yeah.
God.
I'm Colonel Guile. I gotta activate.
I thought guys in American movies with foreign accents were always the bad guys.
My activation for Jean-Claude Van Damme is his speech from Street Fighter. Troopers,
Go on then.
the war is cancelled. Our superiors say we can all go home, but I am not going home. I'm going to go upriver, and I'm going to give that son of a bitch I'm going to kick that son of a bitch Bison's ass so hard that the next Bison wannabe is going to feel it. Now, who wants to go home, and who wants to go with me?
Very good. Very
It's
good golf class.
glorious. Also, I mean, Commando is some of Arnold's best work as well.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
But back to James Earl Jones. We went into a little nice tangent there.
I love him.
Let's see. Anybody else with a memory of James Earl Jones in in a cinema experience, or even meeting James Earl Jones. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting the man.
I mean, mine is neither, but and I mentioned it in my video, but going back to being a little kid on the playground playing Star Wars with my friends when it came out, and Luke was my favorite, and so I'd be like, I'm Luke Skywalker this time, and they're like, no, you can't be Luke, because you could be Lando or you could be Chewbacca.
Wait,
Yeah.
did they say the
Star Wars
reason, or
isn't
did they,
racist, by the way.
did they say the reason, or did they imply it by saying you could be Lando or Chewie? Like, did they say you can't be Luke, you're black?
No, they said the reason. we were in elementary school, but then
they're kids. They're gonna be like, yeah, this is where I learned this, and this is what it means. I've never learned that this is the part you're supposed to keep to yourself yet. You know.
But then I'd say I was Vader, and they would try to give me some pushback because he took off his mask and looked like Humpty Dumpty. But I'm like, no, man, that's James Earl Jones.
Yeah, dude.
And so that gave me some.
Yeah.
Give me some fight growing up.
That's also an icon as well. Yeah, super iconic moment for him as well. I think that's what makes deaths like his and Carrie Fisher's as well hit so hard, because of the diversity that they brought to a market and film environment that was so deeply entrenched in everything that they were not. And
Pretty monochromatic.
yeah.
James Earl Jones will forever be in our memories, whether it's the Thulsa Doom from Conan with the bowl haircut and the long hair, the stuttering shop owner and angriest man in Brooklyn, or Team USA's coach on Best of the Best, and the Field of Dreams. I think he was the coach there too, right? I like to, Choco, you say rest in power, and I like to say he's one with the Force, but we'll always remember him.
When we die, our bodies become the grass. The antelope eat the grass.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everything the light
So
touches is your kingdom.
No, we don't have to bring monarchism into this. We can just stick with the cycle of life.
Could you imagine if James Earl Jones sang that? It's the circle. No, it wouldn't sound as crappy as me, for sure.
No, that's
From the
great.
day we arrived on this planet, and blinking, leapt into the sun. There's more to see. I think we can do it.
Yeah, we could all do a chorus of it as well. You take the third, I'll take the fifth. Let's do it.
We'll get Chris involved.
Thank you for your support, Lord Bloodsith. May the Force be with you too. It was like when you said that in the chat, it sounded weird coming from Lord Bloodsith, but then you followed it up by saying "Long live the Sith," and therefore
that tracks better.
It tracks better, yeah. Spooky Kitty says, "I want to thank you guys. Being in a chat with positive Star Wars fans is refreshing." I know, right? Like,
You're damn
literally,
welcome.
and I've said this before. Like, I often wonder what their conversations look like. Like, if it's just like ragey and hate filled and like also like psychophantic. Like, it's like, man, this is trash, right? Yeah. Like, so what do you talk about after that? Like, if you're so conformed in your opinions, like, where do you find disagreement? Where do you have discourse? Where do you have conversations?
At the risk of like, like high school clique vibes, talking about like those guys or whatever. I think that I will always think that it's business oriented. Like, and when your opinions are financially like lucrative and business oriented, like when you are financially rewarded by your opinions, they stop becoming really. A lot of the times they stop becoming what you really think, and really just you become a reactionary, which is not ideal. We could just keep going for hours and hours and hours. I could go all day just talking about this and like continuing to go. I could do this all day. I really could, and that's just because it comes from. I have freed myself from any kind of financial reward that I could gain from this, which will always taint these sorts of conversations. When you have financial like motivation that is skewing the conversations that you're having, they're always going to be that. There's always going to be that corruption there.
It's not always the case. There is financial incentive in doing this for me to grow the community and to, I mean, our goals and aspirations is to have the Dyad studio and to have all of these positive creators creating content within the Dyad brand. And yeah, we're all in the business of making money. It's whether or not we have the integrity to keep our integrity. We have the
well, I mean,
I'll see if maybe putting it this way makes more sense, because and we have certainly received perks, you know, getting to go to D23 and all this stuff has been really cool. But I could be making so much more money doing literally anything.
It'd be
else.
so easy. It'd be so easy. I've thought about this so often. I could be the best grifter, and you know why? Because I know so much about it. So do you guys.
You could
guys
start
know
every
so
video.
much.
You can start every video reacting to a trailer, going nar.
Yes. This could be my brand, right? I would be so successful. I've said this so many times. I'd make so much more money, and so would you probably.
We're in hot takes
but I
now.
tell you why. Because we should probably move there. Sorry, James Earl Jones, like, rest in peace as well. Like, we were still on the tribute. But like, if you, like, we in a very specific way, we are we are knowledgeable about the universe. We could take it down in such detailed ways as well. And it'd be so lucrative. But this is what I'm saying. When you said that, you know, we're in business and things like that, but you maintain your integrity. When you say an opinion, is your opinion is in the back of your mind, is your opinion like, I wonder how many people will follow me after this. I wonder how many people will click on my video if I put this in the thumbnail. I wonder, like, is that exactly? Because that's what's going through other people's minds when they are motivated by that.
It always
constantly
comes
thinking about that.
It always comes from a place of, at its core, at its fundamental base foundation, it always comes from a place of education. I started this channel to talk about Star Wars lore and to engage with Star Wars and share that passion with everyone. And you know, when we do YouTube, we do social media, everyone imagines that they could do it for a living and not worry about their financial expenses and stuff like that. And this is something that Choco and I discuss when we're trying to think of new ideas and new ways to evolve our brand to be Dyad Studio and to have this voice be a big kind of machine that perpetuates our idyllic vision of a Star Wars community that engages in good faith, that enjoys Star Wars, that shares its passions. I mean, we always think about whether or not we could make money. But we don't. But we don't. Our opinions are not put out there for the money. Yeah. It's always which like, is the key difference. If you guys want to support us, you can support us, you know? Yeah. And it's free always too. Optional. You could subscribe and you'd be supporting us. Yeah. But yeah, like it's never driven by the money, but you know, we always envision, you know, we need to pay the bills. We need to, you know. Oh, of course. Yeah. So no, I'm not saying don't go after that bag. And, I'm not saying you're not either. Yeah. It's just... Yeah. But for you, that key difference is that your opinion is not tied to the money making. The money making is just something that you need to do to survive because our survival is paywalled. That's it. When others who are financially rewarded by those specific like offensive opinions, those kind of manipulations, those enablings as well, if they're not directly involved, a lot of people also like they will definitely inspire that kind of behavior subtly and then kind of throw their hands up and go, not me, I didn't do it. I didn't make them do it. Yeah. Which is why the grift works so well too, is because they, like I said in my video, they sell the fantasy that they're not being paid for their opinions. And they also sell the conspiracy that those that disagree with them are being paid. That's why we get all the shill comments all the time.
Yeah.
God, I would be a shill. I would take
be
that
so
money
good.
so
It'd be so good,
quick,
man.
But
Yeah.
you know, we're not. That's just the simple
Yeah.
truth of the matter.
100%.
So I mean,
I gotta ask, how many times were you called a shill for playing Star Wars Outlaws? Is that a thing you encountered?
I'm not popular enough to hit the mainstream, so I thankfully have escaped most of it. I've had some people when I was streaming it. I had some people come into my chat and talk about. Usually, go on.
I like your videos of it on it though. Like,
oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
For some reason, I never land on a clip of you playing Outlaws. I land on a clip of you land on a clip of you playing Outlaws, proselytizing to the chat.
Yeah, that's generally what I don't put clips of actual like gameplay because I'm analysis and education and stuff like that. So every now and then there'll be gameplay and casual stuff, but most of the time it's analysis and media literacy, and like I use the game to teach, which is what that's what I try and do. But yeah, I recently I usually the people who come in, this is why I say they're not interested. A lot of people are not interested in just like actually discussing. They're just interested in like dropping the comment and leaving. So I've had a lot of people come into the chat and go, wow, this is a trash game, and then leave. And I'm like, cool. Like, I won't spend energy on that. That's fine.
Good conversation.
And then, yeah. And then some people, I had one person come in, one of my longer viewers, and they were like, what are you doing? This game is awful. And I'm like, why? Why is it awful? What's going on? And I engaged while I was playing the game, and I didn't like put too much focus on it. I just kind of went in and asked more questions, and they're still here. They're still watching the game. And sometimes it just happens like that, you know? I let those moments fuel why I'm doing this as well. Because for me, I am not looking for any kind of fame or bag or like, if it comes, that's a great bonus, but I'm not expecting it. And I'm certainly not trying to build a business or a brand or anything. Respect to those who do, but that's not my goal here. I might later, if I decide that this is something that I would like to pursue
if the Dyad brand gets big enough, we'll certainly have you do some like videos for us.
Hell yeah.
Because I'd like to highlight your outlaw video talking about why K has her opinions about the rebellion.
Yeah, that's very much it. I mean, I can talk about it now if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty sure. Choco, have you seen that video?
I have not.
Go for it.
I do a lot of character analysis when I play games. So I did a Jedi Survivor run. When was it? Like last year. And we analyzed the shit out of that. It was great. But then when Outlaws came out, I've now been playing that, and every character moment that Kay has gives us a little more insight into the character that she is. And one of the things that she does is a thing a lot of people do when they look at when you just see a display of violence in front of you, when you see something that distresses you, the first thought is this is not a natural human thing. This is just because of like we live in a society, but it is because of that. Like it's because of how we're raised. And so the first thought you think when you look at something that distresses you, something that's violent, is you don't ask any further curious questions as to why this could have happened. You wonder about yourself, and a lot of your reaction is angry. And you're like, this is stupid. This is disrupting me. This is not good. This is like, and there's no further curiosity because you're faced with it right in your face. It's quite hard to be curious in a moment like that. But really, it's the key. So what Kay does is what a lot of other Star Wars characters do when they're on the ground like that, like grassroots characters. They look at these moments and they go, I see violence. And I see it in front of my eyes because that's what the rebellion does, because that's what they need to do to bring your attention to things. And I see that as more reprehensible and easily condemnable compared to the violence that the Empire engages in every single day to maintain itself that I don't see because it's designed to be invisible to me. It's designed to keep me under, and it's violence against myself as well, but I don't see it or I'm used to it. And that's what a lot of those people see. So Kay sees that moment. I won't spoil for those of you who are playing through it, but she sees a moment of like explosions and there's like a coup attempt or whatever. And she looks at all this violence and she says, they're all the same, aren't they? And I'm like, No, they're not. They're fundamentally different, but I'm not judging her for thinking that they're the same. It's a natural reaction when you live in a world like that forces you to look out for yourself, which Kay is doing. Like, Kay is just looking to survive tomorrow, you know? So she sees this violence. She's not interested in political moves. She's not interested in like changing a system. She's just interested in surviving within the system. She doesn't have the luxury of like speaking out and trying to change things. She doesn't. She's too self-interested because she's poor, and that's really what a lot of people in real life have to deal with as well. So it really helps to be curious.
I want to gauge. I want to Choco really quickly. I want to gauge whether or not we had a Dyad moment. I left a comment on that video, quoting someone, and I'm wondering if you have the same quote in mind. I'm forced
channeling the brain cell.
Which quote comes to mind? And I'll give you a hint. It's from Andor.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I actually already know which quote, but I was trying to think of it while you were speaking, and it wasn't coming to me. But it was the
It's from who?
It was from Nem's manifesto.
Oh, it's got to be my leftist king. It's great.
But I can't think of the line.
The pace of oppression outstrips our ability to understand it, and that's the real trick of the Imperial thought machine. It's easier to hide behind 40 atrocities than a single incident.
100%.
And I was like, that's like basically everything that MJ said in his clip. And I was like, yeah, she sees this one incident, and you're like, oh, they're all the same. Yeah. Not disregarding all of the 40 atrocities that are happening across the galaxy that the Empire is, so it was that.
It's fundamentally
just like
different,
when we,
but I understand.
It's just like when we experience like racism and stuff like that in the community, and I'll get people who like, well, you're the ones who talk about it, and you're like, because we're getting hit with racist stuff. Like, you can't be mad at me and not. God damn it,
I've also seen a lot of people.
Privilege none of us have.
Oh yeah, exactly. A lot of people can't afford to like spend energy on that because they're just trying to survive, And K is the same in Outlaws. I think a lot of K's story in Outlaws is like the common person's tale as well. Someone who grew up in disadvantaged circumstances and didn't have the best upbringing, and a lot of people can tell that story. A lot of people are that story as well. And
that's why I love that game so much, because when an ATST walker comes out, you can't fight that thing. That thing will just kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like it really brings to scale, the actual Star Wars experience, because if you're Cal Kestis, they can send hordes of stormtroopers at you.
Exactly.
And it won't do anything. That walker, you'll pick it up with your mind and crush it into a little ball and drop it. Right? If you're K Vess, you're like, I gotta hide so I don't die.
Exactly.
Which I
like as well.
Which makes this from Darth Matter on the TikTok side. I don't know if you got if that's a quote or if you're saying that yourself, because that's a very, very
it's good. That's a bar.
Good quote. If the system forces you to struggle to eat, then it becomes too much to ask to fight.
Yeah. And you're right. It is purposeful as well. That is designed. The Empire. Still talking about Star Wars, because a lot of people are still a little bit scared about applying this to real life. But when the Empire in Star Wars does what it does, it makes sure that you are focused on your own needs only, so that you don't engage with community, you don't engage with your neighbors, you don't engage with anything else that is like communal at all, despite the very fact that you live in cities is a really good example of why community is essential to human survival.
We can apply this really quickly just by doing a meme. They're eating dead dogs. They're eating the cats. They're that message versus let's solve these issues.
Yeah,
versus
absolutely.
they're coming in by the millions and they're taking your jobs. Like it's a clear distinction between a reductive view,
because Haitians are legal. Because, but
it's a distinction between a reductive view of what's happening, and versus a platform that's like, let's solve it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So this is why I want to bring more attention to Outlaws, because even though that those kind of moments don't happen often, it's still an open world game. That's why they don't happen often, because you do a lot of other stuff in the meantime. But to just feel like you're a normal person in the Star Wars universe is very refreshing. And it really can give you it can really humble you, give you a lot of perspective.
The moment I rode into a homestead and the name of it said Lars Homestead, I was like, no.
I discovered Toshi Station first, and it came out of me. It came out of nowhere. I had a friend who's played the game already, and she said, like, she was watching. She was in the Discord while we were playing the stream, and she said she didn't want to spoil, so she was like, maybe you should go down south. You're there. You might as well. And I was like, oh, fair, fine. And I saw Toshi Station first, and I was like,
did you get a power converter?
I did.
The best part about seeing Toshi Station is it wasn't in the movie, but it's in the deleted scenes, and so they recreated it from the deleted scenes.
So
we did see Boba Fett run up in there and just like start beating
Outlaws,
asses. But
Outlaws is a love letter, man. The developers loved Star Wars. It's so clear. It's so clear that they love it.
It was also a Dyad moment between us too.
One of the reasons I felt very small in that game is I'm playing it and I'm like, oh, is that a Crate Dragon skeleton?
Yeah. I'm like,
and then
you start hearing sounds, and you're like,
I'm in danger.
Yeah. So I hopped off my bike and started walking all weird.
What do they call it? The dance step in Dune.
So walking like Jamiroquai.
The sand walk. No, I was saying the Dyad moment was when I happened upon the Lars Homestead, and then I said I'm recreating the binary sunset.
Yeah, you gotta.
And then I started recording, and then I went back to Discord and saw my notifications, and then I just saw Choco putting pictures of the sunset. I was like,
so good. Yeah.
All
also,
of those moments add up.
If I can read the TikTok chat for a little bit, there's someone who also said, that's the thing, you have to bring it to real life. And I say that yes, you do. But that's later.
It makes it so much better too. Like when you see stormtroopers and then you think one of the best things about bringing in stormtroopers is it not only do you rob this area of their young people who are capable of fighting, but you force their families into rooting for your cause because they want their kid to survive. And you're like, that's so cool. Like I feel like Star Wars is meant to be how kids get into politics and all this stuff. And that's one of the things I think we might miss out on, is because I think some of the issues might come from thinking of Star Wars as an end point when I think it should be considered a beginning point.
It's a start. You're 100%.
This opens your mind to a bunch of wide other stuff, and then you can go. And you can stay in sci-fi, right? And go into the Expanse and learn some things over there, or you go into the Foundation and learn things, and then you can apply those to your real world. But this is not the end. This is the start.
Yeah.
Another reason self-awareness is lacking in the rage bait community. When Andor was, one of the chief complaints about Andor from that community at the time was, why aren't there more aliens in the Empire scenes? And I was like, so this went over your head completely during your time with Star Wars.
Yeah. Just be like, why? Why not? Why don't you think so? Well, what is the reason? Do you think that the writers didn't think to add aliens to Star Wars? Like, what's the purpose? Does separate but equal come to mind as like a policy decision of the Empire? I don't know.
But that's
This
like
is
that
very much-
that's that Dunning-Kruger effect happening right there. They're
Yeah.
talking about Star
Yeah.
Wars and like, well, they forgot the aliens. I'm like, so
No, they didn't.
if you knew more, you would realize that the Empire is a bunch of racists and they don't like aliens in there. I mean, they literally haze and try their best to get rid of Thrawn.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Thrawn has a terrible time of it in the beginning.
only by virtue of his skills and literally be, like standing out to the Emperor
Yeah.
does he succeed.
You know what's crazy though is that the Chiss ascendancy is still fascist. So it's also it's also an imperial regime. It's the same. They're just blue, but they're still fascist.
Well, I mean that's the
I mean, they're worse in a lot of cases because it's so family oriented.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like,
yeah. Monarchical fascists. It's like the worst kind.
but that's the parallelism that we're drawing here is that they could be racist too. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, like
Yeah, exactly.
Filipinos are racist to their own people. Like if you go back to the mainland, everybody is racist to the darker southern Filipinos and everybody in Manila and like in the more social areas, as they say.
Oh, okay.
They're like, you know, those are the poor hillbillies, right?
Damn.
It's
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah,
I come from South Africa. We've got it's a pretty rich history of racism as well, and it's internalized as well with the population there too.
my wife is Mexican, but like part of her family comes from Jalisco, where everyone's really, really light skinned. And so on the day of our wedding, her grandpa told her that she was making the family line worse.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
Luis knows what I'm talking about.
Like what do you say to that? You know, you just kind of nod and move on, like at that point.
and it's
I'm
the same
addicted
thing.
to them.
It's the same thing with other countries in Asia too. Like
Yeah.
the only Filipinos that can truly make it in K-pop are the ones that are from Manila and northern where they have lighter skin.
Yeah.
That's the beauty standard in Korea is the
It
pale
is
skin.
100%. Yeah.
You know, when
People
you're
will
dark,
literally, like,
when you're darker,
they'll do-
they will make up to
Yeah. People will go through like procedures to lighten their skin as well. It's pretty crazy.
The amount of stuff that I've seen people like with tape that reshapes your face and like these.
What specifically in K-pop?
Video. I've seen it for in Korean culture in general, in Japanese, where there's like it's to start like taking stuff off, and then they have like a Play-Doh nose and like all this stuff, and you're like, that's a different person.
Yeah. The plastic surgery industry is making bank in places like Korea. Yeah. And it's all just internalized. It's I mean, look, I am just a visitor here, so I'm not like spouting philosophical about, you know, the culture of the country that I'm living in right now, but just from an observational standpoint and just like looking at the facts that are there, it's still pretty sad, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
what you
it's
said,
honestly easier to see that when you're on the outside of it too.
True. I have found this. I'm not really interested in like making it to the front and being like, let's change things, because no. But I think
You will write
it is
a manifesto like Namek though, just in your spare time.
Oh no, it's in my head. That's for the world. I'm just gonna be here for Korea. But when I'm in South Africa, there's a lot of stuff that I only think about now as being like, wow, that was really a thing, and I didn't notice because I've been away for so long, and I can now like look at it from an outside perspective. Outside perspectives are really, really important, especially if you live in an isolated country, which Korea has been for, you know, for all time until the last 20 years. Like, it was very isolationist, and
I mean, all of the Asian countries were.
Yeah, true. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, like, every time I like look back at the history of the Philippines, like, I really don't think we would be the country we are without the Spanish colonization. Because like I'm looking at like the history books and seeing what the Spanish encountered, who they encountered with like their like really, really like almost like Sentinel Island type of like tribes.
Oh, really?
And yeah, like the evolution of Silat, the evolution of the very tribal martial arts that the Spanish fought. But like a lot of
Be like, some dude killed me with a yo-yo.
That sounds
much.
badass, to be honest.
But yeah, like I think that this is what people talk about when they say like the world works in mysterious ways, because like I can't really imagine where the Philippines would be without that colonization.
I think that might be one of the biggest tragedies of global development, that we never see how societies that were entirely exterminated or forever changed would have developed if it were not for colonization. You'll never find me out here like justifying or excusing it at all. So it actually turns into like what I would like I think of the African perspective as well, and how like you actually
if you
have
take millions and millions and millions of people away, it might change the future.
It completely exterminates everything about them, you know. And
was that not the premise behind Wakanda? Like what happens?
Yes. Yeah, I have a hot take about that since we're in hot takes land. I'll talk about that in a second if you like. But the African like there were specific. It's not just that you can like, you know, put your hands up and go, well, we'll never know what the indigenous Africans would have done if colonization hadn't happened. We kind of do. There were kingdoms, like there were empires, there were huge civilizations that were just wiped off the map. And we can't even hope to imagine how many there were and how many were lost. And that for me is the greatest tragedy, that we will never.
And then we claim it was aliens that built them.
Oh yeah, because that's more fathomable than human beings, you know. It's super crazy. The kind of things that the kind of allegories that I like to make are our tech tree as humanity. We basically just went, the ones that went warfare tech basically just eliminated any prospect of going up like the sharing tech tree that everyone else was doing. Everyone else was like, let's do the communal living stuff, you know? And anyone who was doing expansionism was not really that like global at all. And as soon as the first dudes were like, we maxed out our warfare path, we're coming. And then that's it. All the sharing is gone. And the problem is, we've shown time and time again through societal studies that that sharing technology brings us much further than warfare and destruction ever could. Ever. By like every metric. Except maybe guns, obviously, because they're designed to help the warfare tree. But yeah.
Non sequitur, but still related. We often get the with our videos. I don't know if Choco does, but I get in my videos, if you have to explain something so much, that means that thing had failed. And I always respond.
I get it from time to time.
I always respond, I'm not explaining things out of necessity. I'm explaining things for posterity.
Yeah.
You know, just so it's out there and people can learn. But we still have to explain why the Earth's not flat to people.
Dude, of course. That doesn't mean the round Earth theory has failed. It means that flat Earthers are tenacious. That's what that means.
It's a failure on another level.
Yeah. I agree. There's also always new people that come in that haven't seen your old videos and don't want to go and look for them. So there's always a reason for it. And by the way, everyone, this is also Star Wars. Like all this stuff that we're talking about here, like where indigenous species get like eradicated, that's the Empire as well. Like, so this is still a Star Wars thing.
Refer back to that Clone Wars episode where Anakin lands on the Lurman planet. I forget the name of the planet, Choco.
Even I know this.
No, it's not Vancor.
Is it not Vandar? No, it wouldn't be Vandar. That's a cool.
But that's also a great episode to show hyperspace, because they had to drop out of the ship so they didn't absolutely destroy it.
Wow.
In that episode. So
Full circle
it all ties up.
That's so cool. Sick. I have when Choco, when you were talking about like Star Wars is a good starting point for political education, that's really tied into my one of my biggest hot takes for Star Wars, which is I don't like sharing an opinion with some of the most infamous people that talk about like trashing Disney and stuff, even though I don't like Disney, but it's for different reasons. I don't like it because it's not because they include gay people. It's because they're a mega corporation. When when the acquisition of Star Wars by Disney isn't bad because of like quality or diversity or anything else. The only thing that makes it bad to me is the inherent power that Star Wars has to provide people with political education is now heavily downplayed by the sad fact that one of the biggest like mega corporations on planet Earth is the one showing that to us. Like they're the ones in control of that universe. And I think that's
true. They're very unwilling to make any sort of statement.
Yeah, even you can see it inside the material. Like the material has it, and you can extrapolate lessons from it, but they'll never do enough on the surface. And I think like Andor, for example, is probably the most revolutionary piece of Star Wars media we have. Like including the original trilogy, which was such a good allegory for Vietnam and the American War of Independence. Andor, for me, still trumps it because just like Nemec goes off on a tangent about revolutionary rhetoric. Like it's insane. It's so cool. And even then, it's still not enough to fully educate people on like how to really liberate themselves. Because as it is, if it was enough, Disney would never see it aired. They would never have greenlit it. If it was enough to actually fully radicalize people and get people like up in arms and going, hey, this is actually really shitty, we wouldn't be seeing it. So we have to analyze it. And so people like me will always have a role because I think my job is to help interpret that and sort of get people into that kind of education.
I mean, here, you're talking to someone that like, my big thing is that Anakin is just a good kid who fell down the alt-right pipeline. And,
oh yeah, 100%.
And I don't even see how there's any discussion. That's literally
yeah, it is. That's exactly what happened. Yeah.
But now, since we can't seem to, and for me, this is kind of a Filoni thing. Filoni loves Anakin as a character so much that he refuses to be like, what he's doing here is bad.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's not everyone else's fault. He made this choice and it was bad. You know.
Yeah.
It always goes into it was Mace Windu's fault, even though they don't really interact very much.
Yeah,
it was him.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
I wonder if there are any hidden motives for why Mace Windu would be targeted for like the cause of Anakin's downfall. Couldn't be anything that we've been talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah, what's up, Doc?
Even though he speaks pretty calmly, it's always portrayed as very
yeah. I'm a big fan of Mace Windu. I think he's really interesting. I think Mace Windu is the perfect example of oh man, the words are escaping me, but I don't think what's really interesting is if you read some of the Legends material about him, he does actually clock on to some of the systemic failures. He just does it a little bit too late. And I think what he did...
He's the first person to figures out as Palpatine.
Yeah. But like, I think he acts on it a little bit. Yeah. I had a good take about Mace Windu and I've forgotten it now, but I really enjoy him. I really enjoy like pulling apart his character and figuring out like what he's very much like
he's very obsessed with the Jedi themselves and their portrayal
as an institution. He definitely wanted the institution to be kept alive, and I think one of his main flaws was it was like, I will keep the Jedi Order alive at any cost. And it's like, man, sometimes things got to change, you know? Sometimes we don't have to have the institution as it is. Sometimes the institution can change. And I think he's an interesting window into that.
And that's why I love him. Like he's
super cool.
You know, and I always get like because I'll hear like, oh, he was way too political and stuff like. He was actually the least political of all the he was known to be the least political. Yeah. And be like, he's bad, then we'll kill him.
And which is bad for a whole other reason, but not. Yeah. Oh man.
All right. Do we have any other hot takes?
Oh.
We'll entertain one more if you got one. We are running long on this episode.
Oh damn. Apologies.
Which is-
I do tend to go on.
No,
it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
No,
All right, it's
we
been
never ask
great,
for
yeah.
apologies for a long episode because when it's long, it means we're having an awesome conversation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I could keep going. I have so much more.
But now I do have to cut it off because I'm hungry. So
yeah.
one more
for
hot
sure,
take, if you got one.
From me specifically? Ooh. Sure. I'd have to think about it. Off the dome?
I mean, I can talk if you want a second. To think
Yeah,
for
go
it.
on. Let me think.
Although I think I may have already said this.
Oh yeah.
Well, whatever. Outlaws is the same game as Spider-Man 2. Like it's not winning any awards. It does a ton of justice to the universe it comes from. If you are fascinated by that world, by that power fantasy, you're in it. There's a ton for you to do. And the people who think it'll win Game of the Year, delusional. Never had a chance.
Who cares?
But-
It's a good game though, Like
But that
Yeah.
that shouldn't matter.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think that's a hot take, but
Yeah, I super agree. Sure. Although I do think we're in pretty agreeable company though. So that's
Yeah.
I got nothing for you. I think I've exhausted all my hot takes during the actual discussion. But if there's anything else that comes up during future discussions, I'll definitely
I'd
speak up.
choose Sabe over Padme.
Oh. Okay, but like, is it Natalie Portman Padme, or is it like animated show Padme, or is it like book Padme?
is it Keira Knightley, Pat Sabe?
Yeah. Oh, it's Keira Knightley Sabe. Okay. Asking the right question. This is what happens, right? This is definitely a good, like, I'm new. I'm asking all the Padme questions, and then Element comes in with, like, the key, and that's it. It all unravels. It's great.
Okay, well, here's another one since we're on the topic. Keira Knightley Sabe or Bix
You're going to have to refresh my memory on that.
from Andor. Adria Arona.
Oh, yeah, Bix. 100%. 1,000,000%. Oh, so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going into the the Fantastic Beasts territory. Nyx
Oh.
or Basil?
Nyx.
Nyx.
Yeah, Nyx. I love Basil. Loved Basil. Thought he was awesome. I think he's the levelest head in the whole show.
The loveliest head.
The fact that he, he was like, Soul, what are you doing? You're acting insane right now. And then like pulled him out, like pulled his ship away and stuff like that's sick. I love that. So cool. But Nyx is too useful. Nyx is like amazing.
Yeah.
He's more than just a companion. This is what I love about him. I would be fine if he was just cute. Like if his whole appeal was cute animal, I don't care. He's cute. That's great. But he is also incredibly useful as well.
I didn't know how much I loved him until you have to spend a brief time without him.
I knew that would happen. I knew it. I
think
knew it
that's
as well.
That's the moment that I see everyone who's engaged with this game in good faith. Everyone points to is like I didn't know until like that moment where I would have like thrown the kitchen sink at the freaking computer to get him back.
I'm gonna say that I was definitely on the camp of I knew, because there's no ways you would get a companion that's not the PC that is so useful and not have to spend time without them, because narratively it's a very powerful tool to understand and appreciate him as an individual, which I really like as well. I think my favorite part about Nyx is that he's not a pet. He's a companion. He chooses to be with Kay. She's not forcing him. She doesn't own him. He goes off on his own all the time. He only sits on her shoulder when he wants to be like, petted and given affection and stuff. But he walks on his own. He wanders everywhere. He does his own thing. And
They
Kay
share
trusts
food.
him. Yeah, they share food. It's awesome.
What's your favorite food from Outlaws?
Those are the best events in the game, by the way.
I
love
think my
them.
favorite food is the one that pops.
The popping one was awesome. That was the first one. I've not done the Akiva one yet because I haven't got there, but I've done Tatooine and Kijimi, and I've done Tashara as well. Yeah, the one in Miragana, yeah. I think, the popping one was good. No, my favorite one was Tatooine. When Nyx like makes fun of Kay, that was hilarious. That was so good. Yeah, it was so good.
I think mine's Kijimi, actually.
The Kijimi one is good too. Yeah, the cold one.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of Kijimi, I genuinely felt like I was brought into the Rise of Skywalker. It was like, we talk about how Tatooine is like walking into A New Hope and stuff like that, because it's awesome. It's like a 1-to-1. But Kijimi really, I love the set pieces of the Rise of Skywalker, and Kijimi took me straight there. It was so cool. Such a cool vibe.
We were talking about, with our good friend Xanthi from Star Wars Music Minute, we were talking about the music from a certain portion of the Rise of Skywalker. And we landed on what are those beans? Like, what are those things that they spill? Or those berries? And as soon as like we were approaching the end of that recording, we're like, why don't we go to Kijimi and find out? Unfortunately, it's not in any of the databanks. They said
which
they do
thorough,
have
by the way.
They do have an entry on food of Kijimi. They don't have anything on that though. But I did find a pot of it. It was snow covered, and I was like, but what is it? There needs to be a letter beside this.
You know
and
what?
be like, don't imagine finding a letter beside that and saying, be careful not to spill the beans.
Oh, so good.
And it just like,
so
oh my
good.
gosh, they did it in Rise of Skywalker. That's crazy.
Start making references to sequels and people will love them more. That's what happened with the prequels. There was a wave of memes. Everyone started to love them. And it'll happen with the sequels as well. If we could just get away from the bigotry before then, that would be great. But that seems to be a pattern as well, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the visuals that the sequels create. That's unmatched to me. So beautiful.
Imagine if we get an Afra DLC on Outlaws and we can go to Octo.
I'm imagining. I'm enjoying. I'm just gonna live in my brain for a second and just enjoy that for a while. Wow.
Because we don't need a Jedi game to get some Jedi.
Yeah, just go sneak on. They won't notice. It's fine. It's not like they have like a magical power that can
the
sense
Prime
you there.
Jedi's temple and like
It'll be fine.
Look at the rock that Luke projected on. You know,
I want to go harass the caretakers. That seems like fun. Those poor people. It seems like they've had enough, to be honest. I love the way that like when Rey knocks over their cart and they just look up at her and they're so done with everything. They're just so done.
They do
just holding the handles and just like, yeah, it feels like that's the millionth time that something has happened like that. Where like a Jedi in training has thrown a rock and it's gone through someone's back window, and yeah, I definitely. Oh,
they have
so
procedures for that, for sure.
Yeah.
We have in the chat.
I just want to picture them after the hut exploded, to like come out the next morning and be like, "How?"
Oh, because I forgot that whole thing happens. Yeah, because that was also a caretaker hut. Yeah, that's a good point.
Man. Now we need like we mentioned in our pre-show, we need some corporations. We need Circa, we need Tag, we need Domina in Outlaws. So just so I can like sneak around her and just be feisty.
Yeah, I think it'd be very brave if we got Zerka as a slightly more direct way to criticize companies because of how Disney-esque Zerka actually is in their practices and how predatory. But yeah, hopefully, maybe they won't see it. Maybe they'll be like, it's fine. Zerka's just pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. Yeah.
It'll just be us flying into a new system, and then the planet, and when we land on the planet, it's just called Zerkaland.
Yeah.
Just eat some of the food, ride some of the rides. It's all fine.
It's the only planet that has an entry fee as well. Like, you have to pay to get on and land.
I will say getting some background information on Canto Bight was also pretty cool.
That was cool, wasn't it? Ah, so nice. I loved starting there. It feels I'm a fan of when I talk about the love that the developers obviously have for this game. For not for the game, but also for Star Wars. I love that they are fans of all of Star Wars. It seems, because they're giving equal love to all eras that we apply, that we can fly to and that we can be on. Like, Canto Bight gets love, Tatooine gets love, Kijimi gets love. It's fantastic. It really, really does build the world that we are we are lacking the most on in terms of content. You know, yeah.
Akiva is a book planet, you know.
Really? I didn't actually know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, so the whole book that begun the sequel period, and the aftermath series of books. Yeah, it's a big player in them, and you get a lot of nods to it. Like, they loved that.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can't wait to go there.
I'm a spooky kitty who says, y'all got me gooning over these Star Wars ladies. Is that a problem?
What a terrible time to have ears. Thanks for that.
Also, maybe give Star Wars Explained some love right now. They're getting the worst of the fandom menace right now. Oh, we gave some love. We stand with Alex and Molly.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. They're the
100%.
Like,
I've been a little bit disappointed with some people that I really enjoyed the content of that are kind of... Yeah.
Like, I honestly, like, hypothetically, if you were out in the world in a place that you were unfamiliar with, and you saw Alex and Molly, and then you saw, I'll just say it, Geeks and Gamers.
Yeah.
I mean, who would you rely on to give them the shirt off their back?
Yeah. Again, curiosity, benefit of the doubt. And when you engage with people like that, but not with people like that, with the people who follow people like that, because those are just people.
Yeah.
I don't think that if you see anyone if they're in their element, those sorts of creators and those, like, in that space, if you're in their element, they're not interested in engaging with you. They're interested in, like, dunking on you, or, which, I'll be honest, a lot of people do online, because it's funny to dunk on people sometimes, but it's not productive. So if you want to be productive, just don't engage with the actual creators at the top. Try to engage with the audiences and hold the creators accountable instead. Like, they're not interested in engaging with you. They're not, they left good faith behind a very long time ago. And if you really want to look for making a change and, like, actually trying to engage with people and trying to be productive, have good conversations, engage with the audiences, because they're just the people. They're not the ones who are, like, actively responsible for like creating the space. They just perpetuate the space, and you can connect with those people if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. No judgment for you, because it's certainly exhausting. But if you want to, then do. Just don't do it on Twitter. Get off there if you want to engage. There's no reasonable discourse to be had on Twitter.
No.
I do also encourage everyone who just doesn't want to be in that space or in that
true
general atmosphere to, as much as possible, do the 3 dots, even on the desktop site, even on the red play button site.
Yeah.
Don't recommend this channel.
And the block button is free as well.
Yeah, because as much as you can tell the YouTube algorithm that you don't want it recommended, the better. And this isn't me trying to, I mean, even though I agree with the letter principally, this isn't me coming after their monetization. I'm just saying, like, the more people the more people that it's not recommended to, the less it'll appear on the algorithm, and they'll just stick to their inner circle of people who watch them.
Algorithms work on attention, good or bad. It doesn't matter. That's why companies don't speak out against this kind of stuff, because the more stuff that we say about them, the more attention they're getting and the more profits they make at the end of the year. The truth is, you win by, I'm not saying to ignore it, because really we shouldn't. And you should always, like, call it out if you see it, if you want to. But the trick to get it to go away is to not talk about it. So my advice would rather be engage, like I said before, engage with the fans, engage with the audience, engage with people, like talk to people. But if you feed the drama, if you feed the fighting that goes on, and I'll say again, especially on Twitter, because it's just a hotbed for that kind of stuff, it will continue. Like it will be perpetuated. So there's it's a really frustrating balance that you have to keep between accountability and also not giving it too much attention. And when you find that, you'll be a lot happier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the single reason
do
why,
something, protect your peace.
Yeah.
It's the single most reason why every time I do a response video, it's about calling out what was said and providing the context and the correction for what was said and leaving it at that. And it's one of the advice that I gave to our good friend Con Savage just a couple, I think last night, after I posted my response video. They were like, how do you get all of these good people? I always get the the bad crowd, and I say,
build it, they will come.
Well, the biggest advice I can give you is that don't reply to every single comment that is antagonistic.
Yeah.
Right, because the one thing that I see on his videos is that he makes a new video for every reply that is antagonistic or disagreeable, and gives them space, gives them a platform. I take the idea that it was disagreeable, and I make my response to it, and I move on. And quite honestly, if anybody is disagreeable or in bad faith after the fact, I block them.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that,
Yeah. This might count as my hot take then. If you want to learn how to engage with this, there are two things I want to say to that. The first thing is, when I talk about seriously engaging with people, there's no good and bad. It's really just people's upbringing, material conditions, society, environment, things that they live in. We still make choices, of course, but inherently, it's really all about potential and what choice we're going to make. Are we going to make a good choice or a bad choice today? And a lot of people have made a series of like not well thought out choices, and that's led them here. A lot of those people that we would consider bad probably came to your guys' channel and community thinking that, but not really voicing it. And a lot of the people that you would consider good now were those people before, and they've been influenced by you and your community, and now they're here. I don't think that it necessarily started with like, you just waited for like the good people to come in.
No.
I think it was actually just a wide net, and you must have very definitely changed some people's perceptions on things.
I mean, me and Choco have been doing this since 2019, 2020.
Wow.
It's been a long fight, and we've certainly gotten our fair share of, I used to think about this way. Thank you for opening my eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
We've gotten a lot of those comments, and that's the single most reason why I keep going. Is for that one single comment.
Same, 100%. Because it really is just about that. I have never thought of going viral or getting millions of views as a goal for me. Not only is that super unrealistic, but it's also like, I can't fathom that kind of number of people like consuming anything that I do. So rather focus on the individual and like the small community and like the people who are like actively listening, have interactions with those people, and like that is the thing that the silent masses will see. That's the thing that will really define you as a creator.
Now, so you're gonna have some eyeballs on you.
I've been here. Just I'm a professional social media lurker. I only talk when I really feel like I have something to say.
What's interesting also, and we'll wrap this up in the next 10 minutes, just for dinner's sake. But what's also very, very fulfilling is when you've reached a result you never planned for. So, for example, I got a comment last night about somebody saying, thank you for your video on Palpatine's return in The Rise of Skywalker. You know, I think differently about the movie now. And I responded, my goal is never to change your thinking on the movie.
It's not a debate.
My video was to say, hey, Palpatine came back in Legends as well. This is what happened. So to say him coming back in canon breaks the lore, then and at the same time you're like, oh, I love Legends. You would have to also be consistent with that outrage. So I'm not.
It's just information, you know.
Yeah, and in that video I was like, so now you have to like the Rise of Skywalker. That wasn't like we never aim, because quite honestly, the Rise of Skywalker is still kind of low on my list anyway. But like we never aim to change people's minds, but rather to provide that additional insight that makes them think.
Absolutely, it's not a debate. And listen, debate lords are exhausting most of the time. So it's really that when we have conversations, we're trying.
Smiles too.
Oh yeah. Oh God! Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. We'll be here for another hour. All right. Anyway, the people who pride themselves on being good at debating are not interested in like learning, which is what you should be interested in. That should be the reason we even talk at all. Is to pass on knowledge, to exchange learning and inspire and facilitate education. It shouldn't be to be right, to win an argument. You should like being wrong. You should enjoy being wrong.
That almost went Star Trek. He's like, like in the middle of your sentence, I was like, explore new life and new civilizations to boldly go where no man has gone before. I was like, wow, this is.
I think Star Trek is a better entry to political education a lot of the time. Like Star Trek reached a pretty socialist utopia with like humanity, I believe, where no one had to like everyone on Earth, I believe, has reached a place where they don't have to like pay for things. They just kind of get their needs met.
In that regard, I'd recommend Orville.
Oh, okay. All right, sick. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's a meritocracy. There's no currency. It's just like everybody lends their services for the good of the collective.
Yeah. So
Although, in your voice, I felt like you were channeling a little Alan Tudyk. I felt like I was.
If that's what you took from that, then great. Maybe that's just my voice. my motivational side came out. But genuinely,
can you say
that should be? Yeah. What's that?
Can you say I'm a leaf in the wind?
I'm a leaf in the wind. Like, how do you want me to say it? How do you want me to deliver it? Like,
your timbre is very Tudyk-y.
I'm a leaf in the wind. I'm a leaf in the wind. If I get the louder I get, the more like up here I get. So I'm a leaf in the wind.
No, you're you have just the thing, like probably the same mouth shape when you talk or something. I don't know.
Nice.
That's a thing. Leave me alone.
No, absolutely. No, I'm with you. I have the mouth of Alan Tudyk. This is great.
You have a Tudyk mouth.
What I was going to say though is I
have
a background from sales, heavy sales background. So that was always my big thing is you can't change someone's mind. You can help them come to a new decision based off of new information. Yeah, and that's how I always have to look at it.
I mean, sales does rely on like I'm sure you know as someone who's in sales, like they do teach you various like manipulation techniques on like how to get people to actually get there.
Oh yeah, Choco is very manipulative.
Did I just like inadvertently call you a narcissist? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm just kidding.
Oddly enough, I was self-employed when I was a salesman.
Oh damn. So, okay, cool. Yeah.
So I didn't. It was mostly inspired by Zig Ziglar and some of the old school folks.
I've sold one vacuum in my life.
Cool. I mean, CV.
That's
man.
when I quit.
You could add that. Yeah. Yeah. No, the most important things when you engage in life, the most important things are a wish to learn, a wish to be wrong, because then you learn something new, a wish to fail, and a wish to educate and be educated. I think that's really the way to engage, not just with Star Wars, but with everything.
And that is being a lore master.
Damn right.
A wish to educate, a wish to learn. And that is a good end to this wonderful episode of Dyad in the Force, episode 186, the one with the Everything GM MJ, who has provided us with an outstanding and insightful, almost 3-hour conversation.
That's what I do. My streams are longer than that. It's been lovely having me. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you for
I've been
coming
waiting.
on.
I've been a fan of so many Star Wars creators for so long, and you all seem like such cool people to be friends with. So it's nice that I actually get to like break into that now. So it's really cool to be here.
Well, also with that in mind, keep your calendar and your travel plans open for. I don't know if you've been following us ever since our first DyadCon.
Oh, I don't know if I have that kind of longevity. No, I'm afraid.
So DyadCon is not a con. It's just called DyadCon, and we get badges, and we meet up, and we stay in the same place, and we hang out. And we had one in just this past May, and we had close to 50 people there, and it was insane. Ooh. And everyone was just having breakfast together and going to Disneyland and just hanging out.
Cool.
And so we'll be planning our next one really soon for in the next year or so, like just because a lot of people might not be going to Japan, but we're planning the next one. And so, well, you're in Korea. It's a lot more feasible.
It's closer. It's closer.
But think about more towards fall, winter of next year of 25.
Yep.
We might be thinking about getting some cabin or like a villa where everyone can have their own rooms and stuff, and we'll put on our own karaoke. We'll have marathons. We'll and at that time we'll probably be watching Ahsoka season 2 with everybody. So just keep it out. Just keep your calendar open.
Listen, my whole life is open come next year. For the next couple months.
End it with keep it out.
Keep it. A very big pause. Just gonna hold on to that. Privately. Enjoy the moment. Okay.
Sorry.
My life for the next couple months is pretty stagnant until December. I go back home to visit my family. That's gonna be pretty cool because I haven't seen them in like 3 years, which is crazy. I'm spending 2 months there. It's going to be awesome. And then when that's done, I have to decide where I'm going to live. If I'm going to stay in Korea or if I'm going to move back to South Africa. And I'm not sure yet. I haven't reached a decision. So depending on that, we'll tell you whether I'll have my calendar fully open for the next DyadCon. But that sounds like I had a lot of fun.
Gotcha. It was cool. Great. All right, thank you to everyone on the red play button side for hanging out with us this long and engaging with us. Everyone on the TikTok side, thank you guys so much for tuning in and hanging out. Choco, any final words?
This was great. We'll do it again.
All right, that's
Succinct.
It. On to the next one.
For Light and for Life.
We are all amazing people.
I was waiting. You had me like on the edge of my seat.
Right? And then we let us down. May the force be with you always.
Stay hydrated.